evening, everybody, and welcome to the interview room. What an amazing day. Woo! I don't know about you. American spirit. I'm ready to have some fun. You know I'm near. Tonight's show She's got me holding on is brought to us by Buddy, a furry trying to be a human. Go figure. Go figure. She's got me holding on. Where are you at? Phoenix is in the house. Kansas, Tennessee, Spring Hill. Hi, Tracy. Cody, Wyoming. Love that area. Albuquerque, beautiful city. Wow. West Virginia, Mississippi. Love Mississippi. Texas is in the house. South Carolina. Boston, where they pack the cat in the bus and have it. NorCal. You guys are about ready to get a big one up there. Put your seatbelts on. The ground shaking. Man, oh man. Got a great show for you tonight. And guess who's going to be in the house? We got John Lamb again in the house. I could pull him away as much as I can possibly get him here. I'm going to keep him here. And then, of course, we got Dr. Brucato, but Gary's going to be a little late, FYI. So if you tell people as they're coming in, Gary will be here, but he is with some patients right now. And maybe I should be laying on his couch. I don't know. You know, he'd probably be looking at me going, you know what? Let's talk about a couple of things. But anyway, that said, let's get John in here and we'll kick this show off. Good evening, Sergeant John Lamb.
Well, good evening. It's great to be here again, Chris. And I'm just wondering how Dr. Gary would fix your meds.
I know, right? Exactly.
And you know, I'm not making a joke about people who take psychotropic medication. I'm not. I don't want to upset anyone because that just simply isn't me. I've never been known for saying things that hurt people.
No, never. Not one time. So, John, you've got a new book on the horizon here. Bring Out Your Dead. I know it went to the publisher today. When's this going to kick off for early ordering on Amazon and everywhere?
Well, I sent the message this afternoon that I gave final approval. This can happen very quickly. So what I will do is I'll be checking daily and they'll let me know. And I'll let everybody know when it's available. And, awesome. You know, I want to thank everybody who's purchased the books. It's really humbling to me to have your people in chat, your subscribers buying the books. And I want to thank you, Chris, for making it something that's achievable, that I can share my book with good people.
Absolutely. It's my honor to, for two things. One, you're a dear friend. And those of you who don't know, John and I go way back. We first met when I started the PD in 1982, and we've been friends ever since. We've not looked back. And we all have second lives after our careers. And by the way, we want to welcome our friends, hopefully over in Facebook. This is the first time I've ever streamed over to Facebook. So right now, this is streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and X. So we've got all three platforms streaming this program out tonight. It's the first time Karen and I tried it. We talked about it. And we thought, okay, let's give it a whirl. So if you're out there in Facebook land, welcome. It's so grateful to have you here as well.
Great.
A shout out to our mods, of course, Maui Girl, Miss Sophia, Laura, Teresa, Holly, and Mimi J2, who's there with her husband right now. We love you all. And I know Teresa has also, we've got to keep her husband in our prayers. Jeff, he's a super great guy. We've met. We actually met at Disney World when Karen and I were in Florida one time, and we all got together for dinner and hung out and got to know each other. And then, of course, some other news in the atmosphere here and YouTube, the true crime world. Josh's dad from the lab just was paroled today. So he's kind of going through a little something. So we want to keep him as well in our prayers. And then, of course, first and foremost, to all the great Americans out there, our service members, our first responders, doctors, nurses, those of us who have been there, done that. God bless you, each and every one of you, and we pray for you this evening that you are protected and safe, and all your families are also protected and safe. And thank goodness we live in such an amazing country. Yeah, John?
Yeah, exactly. We're grateful for your service. And we know that those of you who undertake it are not doing it for wages. You're doing it because you've pursued it as a mission for your life of service. And all I can say is thank God you're there.
Yeah, amen. Thank you so much for everything you're doing and for the sacrifices that you're making. Okay, tonight's show, man. I'll tell you, I don't know. Shout out to Crime Junkies, and they released the entire letter, the first letter that came in the Nancy Guthrie case, and that's kind of where I want to go. And I know, John, you and I talked earlier today. We had some ideas, and so I want to address this, head on tonight, and kind of talk about an angle that really that John and I have been, throwing back and forth. Nobody's really talked about. Hey, there's my old partner. I went to the academy with Joe. Hey, Joe. Woohoo! All right, it's working. It's working over on Facebook. So cool. Awesome. Thank you, buddy.
Hey, Joe, you're
great man right there. Great man right there.
Joe is in the book that's coming out.
Awesome.
He's in the chapter about Donald Hall, and that's all I'll say.
Okay. Oh wow, that just you made my whole night. You made my whole night.
That is great.
Anyway, so one of the things that was really interesting, and one of the angles we want to talk about, there's a couple thoughts out there, right? The number one is it's floating up through the environment that Nancy Guthrie, there's a theory that she could have been kidnapped through the principle of what they call a wrench attack, right? That's been floated around for the last 2-3 months, et cetera. Well, one of the challenges that we're going to have talking about that as a whole in terms of its viability in totality. When I say in totality, meaning does it fit? Does a square fit in a round hole? And the challenge that we have with that kind of concept is the idea that you have to have the Bitcoin first. And in all of these virtual wrench attacks that have ever occurred, and this is a new phenomena, by the way, since the advent of Bitcoin, okay, the majority of the victims in these kind of attacks have millions of dollars in their Bitcoin accounts already. All right. It's not like, it's basically like going and taking somebody to a savings account or a box at the bank in the vault and saying, okay, now you're going to give me all your gold, all your jewelry, all your diamonds out of your box here. Put the key in, take everything out, and now we're leaving. That would be the equivalent of a wrench attack. All right. The opposite in this case is what occurred. Nancy Guthrie had no money. And in fact, that would be like saying, okay, we're going to the bank and I'm going to open up my account and you're going to transfer all your money into my account while we're at the bank. So we're going to take your safe deposit box and we're going to just pour it all into my account. But the problem is, Nancy doesn't have anything in her safe deposit box. It's empty. So that's the difference between a quote wrench attack and what we're going to talk about tonight, which I've titled this program tonight, a virtual kidnapping. And then the secondary question here is, does the ransom note fit? Or do the ransom notes fit? So that's the track we're going to be on tonight. John, thoughts before we get kicked off here on what I just brought up?
Just very briefly, I think you did a good job explaining the skeleton aspects of wrench attack. I think for those who watched last night, you should probably have a pretty good idea of what we think actually happened. But I'm eager to get into the discussion of how these the two communications, but the first one in particular, just what we can derive from it as investigators. So I'm excited to be here. Let's do this.
Yeah, let's go. And so let's take a look, first of all, at the note that Crime Junkies let everybody hear yesterday. And if you haven't heard it, go over see Brianna over there. Is very well done, very well put together. And this is the essential language. And when Gary gets here, we're going to come back to this to talk about this a little bit deeper. But John, what are a couple of things that struck you about this first ransom note that was presented?
Let me preface this by saying that I can't point to any academic background, but I have been writing professionally for 28 years. So as I read this, I have the impression that there may have been an original message that was submitted to some program or perhaps an AI format to create a document that would remove distinctive linguistic markers that would help identify an offender. I'm looking at this. I know we may have writers in the chat. Karen will know what I'm saying by this. I'm not seeing what we call a voice. I'm not seeing a personality. I'm also seeing something that is exquisitely punctuated, spelled. It looks almost too perfect to me. And the use of the term law enforcement will not be able to help you. This seems excessively wordy, verbose, stiff. So I'm almost getting the sense that there has been some, as I said before, some software that is attempted to create something that's going to limit your ability to look at a document and say who that was written by. So
Great analysis right off. I mean, just kicking this right off. And so let's go through this for a moment. And then a couple of things that jumped out, we'll break those down. And I've put some slides together to make it a little bit easier for all of us to, kind of follow along, because you know how my brain works. Sometimes it doesn't function very correctly. At least it's getting that way. But long story short, I'm kidding. So let's go through this. Hello, Savannah. And I'm going to read it as if I was writing it. But I'm going to read it in the tone of, I have your mom, and I'm going to be real serious. Hello, Savannah. We have your mother, Nancy. She's safe, but she's scared. She will be held for ransom. Now, that's an interesting concept,
She will be. That's future tense.
future.
So when was
Right.
this written? Well before the event?
She will be held for ransom once payment is received. So if they pay him, is that when the ransom kicks in? Or do they? That's confusing in of itself. Okay, let me read that one more time. She will be held for ransom once payment is received. So it's like pay us and then we'll hold her for ransom. That doesn't make any sense. Once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. Once payment is received to the Bitcoin address below, she will be released within 12 hours of deposit to a safe drop-off location back in Tucson.
Chris, this sounds like an agreement for long-term parking at the airport. You know, the fine print on the back is almost what this reads like.
Yeah, that's a great point because we've got a payment plan, and now we've got okay. If the payment plan is accomplished, then we're just going to drive her home back to Tucson and drop her off somewhere. Okay. Yeah. If the payment is not received by the last deadline on Monday, the 9th at 5 p.m., she will be killed. Your mother is aware of this, and her life is in your hands. So that's what they call transfer behavior. The suspect is transferring the behavior that they're exhibiting to the victim's family here. Okay. There will be no negotiations. Do not play games. Law enforcement will not be able to help you. All right, first brush without Gary. John, what jumps, what doesn't jump? Does it fit?
Well, so much of this is unnecessary. Some of the phrasing, she will be held for ransom. Well, we pretty much assume that would be the case if you're contacting her, if you're contacting Savannah because you purportedly abducted her mother. She will be held for ransom is like, yeah, we already figured that out. So that's unnecessary. You can do that. Once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. You haven't told us how much money you want. You haven't told us what the payment is. You've just told us once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. Again, we're writing future tense. She will be released within 12 hours of the deposit to a safe drop-off location back in Tucson. That's deliberate misdirection. Okay, you're supposed to imagine that she's within 12 hours of Tucson. Again, why this precision phrasing? It's a kidnapping. This is not an English essay. This is almost, I'm almost getting the sense of, I don't know, somebody watched too many James Bond films, and this is the evil villain stroking the cat, talking without contractions, and, you know, if you don't do this, this will happen. And then if payment is not received by the last deadline, well, there is only one deadline. So why are you putting the modifier of the last deadline? Monday the 9th at 5 p.m., she will be killed.
Yeah, I think there were two deadlines earlier on, but that was a discussion that Brianna had last night. It was a Thursday, and then the Monday was the secondary deadline. But the one thing that jumped at me here is, first of all, they're talking plural. We have your mother. She is safe but scared. She will be held for ransom. Once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. So basically, they're not going to hold her any longer than 7 days in any way, shape, or form. Once payment is received to the Bitcoin address below, she will be released within 12 hours of deposit to a safe drop-off location back in Tucson. So that means the suspect, once again, is familiar with Tucson. And that goes towards the familiarity of the home. We've said this from the beginning. There is no way that house was randomly selected in any way, shape, or form. You had to have known how to get into that house. If the payment is not received by the last deadline on Monday, the 9th, at 5 p.m., she will be killed. Your mother is aware of this. I think that's unnecessary information. I think Nancy was aware of it the moment she was taken out of the house. And her life is in your hands. So that's a manipulation of sort. There will be no negotiations. Do not play games. Law enforcement will not be able to help you. So first thing that this thing has, let's look at what we call the structural elements of this particular note. Number one, direct address and claim of custody. We have your mother.
Where's your proof? You need to be able to demonstrate you have proof that your purported victim is still alive.
Yep. And so what the writer of this note is trying to do is establish that premise immediately. There's no lead up to this. It's get in, get out, direct address. The second, there's a reassurance plus a threat, and they're back to back. She is safe but scared. She will be held for ransom. That pairing is deliberate. It keeps the receiver hopeful enough to comply and to act quickly and efficiently. The third piece of this is a manufactured deadline. Maximum of 7 days, a specific date and time. This, to the receiver, creates a panic and cuts off the time to think and to verify and to plan. Now, the reason we can go over this succinctly is John and I were both hostage negotiators. John was on one team. He ran one team, and I was on another team with a guy named Tom Bussey, Sergeant Bussey. But we had worked in the past together. And so that's why I'm breaking it down this way. The next piece of this are the payment mechanics, and they're named specifically. And that is the Bitcoin with a time frame after payment. And that means that it makes the demand feel more procedural and real, like a business transaction rather than a crime. That's important to know and to understand, because when Dr. Gary gets here, we're gonna lean into this a little bit deeper. Thoughts so far, John, of where we're at?
The one thing I find slightly mystifying is that the suspects have identified as a maximum of 7 days, but we know that Nancy's medication was left in the home. One would reasonably presume that if this was a genuine communication, there would be some reference to the faster you get us the money, the faster your mom will get the medication she needs, which would add increased urgency, which makes me wonder if the person who wrote this, or when this was written, it wasn't known that the medication was left behind.
Well, that goes into the next concept to figure that out, right? Which is the isolation move in this note. Okay? Meaning you will not be able to contact me Okay. Now this is really important, um, because if in fact this is, I'm trying to think through this carefully. This individual makes it individual again. You will not be able to contact from here on out. Don't play games, basically. That's where this is coming from. Okay. The don't play games, law enforcement not be able to help you, etc. Okay. And so the next piece of this goes into, and what that does is it removes a sense of control from the family. They're scaring him. And then, of course, we have the non-negotiations clause. There will be no negotiations. That preempts bargaining, and it pushes for the immediate full compliance by the victim's family. Okay. If the payment's not received by the last deadline, your mother will be killed, i.e., that is the isolation move. Okay. Don't mess with us or she dies. Okay. Don't play games. And then they reiterate it. And so that's the last piece, the warning about law enforcement. And law enforcement will not be able to help you. Okay. This is one of the most consistent features of these types of scripts that potentially could be tied into fake, because that's really the biggest tell. Genuine kidnappers for ransom cases are still worked by law enforcement no matter what, including specialized units within the FBI who do exactly this. That line exists to keep victims from getting help, not because it's true. They know that the family is going to get the authorities involved. So that's when I read this and started going over these principles, I thought to myself, interesting, very interesting. And then we did a comparison against number 2 here. And the second ransom note is almost like a note of atonement. What are your thoughts, John, on the second one?
It strongly impresses me that it's an entirely different author, possibly a female, certainly someone who writes more lyrically. I'm seeing more of a voice, if you will, here, a personality. And there's a huge element that's also artificial to it because, yeah, you say you're sorry, but you've done nothing to alleviate the injury you've, inflicted on the family. This is being done to not so much to offer comfort to the Guthrie family as it is to find some level of absolution, if it's accurate. She is buried with nature now, buried in nature now. Well, that's just an artsy way of saying we disposed of the body.
Well, and that's a really good point because note number 2 conflicts with note number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Note number 1 says, you got 7 days or she's going to be killed. Note number 2 says, we never intended to hurt her. And so I like where you're going there, John. I hear her. This one has a voice.
Then we got no guarantee that this wasn't written in advance of the event either. These scripts may have been produced as a form of chaff to keep law enforcement confused. But yeah, there is definitely a voice here, a completely different voice. You're seeing demands, very stern language in the first message. The second message is softer.
Yeah, I mean the first note is definitely doing some psychological work. There's this print, right? I mean, in the first note, we get this principle of there's a reassurance, meaning she's safe, but she's scared. That's like, okay, mom's still there. Mom's still there. And it keeps this compliance potentially going forward. And that hopelessness that the family was probably feeling initially, this may have been what moved Savannah towards, making some of the Instagram videos, and then the behavior science unit gets in and says, look, we're not sure where these notes are coming from, okay, or how they're here. Uh, and
Yeah, I would be fascinated to know.
Karen,
Chris, were these sent to the family directly, or were they sent to media uh, stations?
they were sent to media stations, both
Okay,
of them.
well,
Karen just
again,
handed
that
me.
makes me very suspicious of the intent and the authorship.
Yeah, so I have Karen just said that this, let's see here. Well, it's the same. It's the same. You will not be able to. There's just one change in this. I'm sorry, I typed this up wrong. So I want to make sure that we're accurate here. So here's the full context that Karen just handed me. Hello, Savannah. We have your mother, Nancy. She is safe but scared. She will be held for ransom, and once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. Once payment is received to the Bitcoin address, she will be released within 12 hours of deposit to a safe drop off location back in Tucson. If the payment is not received by the last deadline on Monday the 9th at 5 p.m., she will be killed. Your mother is aware of this and her life is in your hands. It is in the best interest of everyone to have this completed as soon as possible. You will not be able to contact me from here on out. And that was the statement that I was the non-negotiation clause and the isolation move that I was talking about earlier, where they said, you're not going to be able to contact me. That cut off any back and forth. And it also removed the Guthrie family from any type of control.
Well, that sentence, Chris, also means nothing. It's
I
in everybody's best interest if you pay. Well, duh. I'm sorry. That's just silly. Now, maybe I'm expecting too much intellect from whoever did this, but it should be obvious that yes, it is obviously in everybody's best interest if this is a genuine communication.
Right. And then they have in the next sentence here, it says there will be no negotiations. Do not play games. Law enforcement will not be able to help you. So the context of that is correct with a couple of corrections that I just made. This note also included specific details about the crime scene intended to prove legitimacy. And it stated she has a white smartwatch that was on the floor near her bed, like at the foot of her bed. And there was also a floodlight that was destroyed in the backyard. The sender demanded an initial payment of $4 million in Bitcoin by February 5th, escalating to $6 million by February 9th if that deadline was missed. So there was a payment plan, like we were just talking about, in between that. And so when we get to number two, now I mean that particular first note is pretty intimidating. If mom is gone, okay. But the second note now really softens that first note as if it was like, what the heck? Over? And because the second note to the family goes, we did not fully grasp, again, it's plural, speaking for more than one. We did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical condition.
Then you're a moron. You took an 84-year-old woman and you knew something about her background. Really? That to me is a throwaway line. That's a rationalization. But it reads in a sort of, I'm attempting to soothe you. We didn't mean to do this. Written by a defense attorney almost.
Yeah, we never intended to hurt her. That was not our intention. So this is plural. There are two people speaking in this note. She perished shortly after she was taken.
Perished.
That's weird.
I've written 10 books, and I've never used the word perished. And I've written about dying a lot. Very artsy, very, that's somebody that's done some reading.
Yeah, we believe it was heart related. Well, what gave you that clue? Her saying, I have a heart condition. You know, she is buried in nature now. Nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. We are truly sorry. However, if they would have done this, then she would have been brought back to Tucson.
Well, the line, nothing you could have done could have changed this. That's just very cruel manipulation. I mean, what I'm reading between the lines with the oops, what I call the oops defense. Oops, we didn't mean to kill her. The inference that there was something that the family could have done or that Savannah could have done. You're the ones that snatched her out of the house. Again, if this is genuine communication.
Right. And not a smokescreen.
Yep.
Not smoke and mirrors. Because, you know, the script, the psychology going on here, you know, one, there's a reassurance, right? That she's safe, but she's scared. Again, going back to the idea. The second is their Dateline manufactures an urgency. Okay. It moves this situation quickly. So the individual doesn't have time to call, you know, her mom or try to reach out in any way, shape, or form or communicate. It's just like, look, you better get this done. You've got a maximum of 7 days, no matter what. And then, of course, this line that says you will not be able to contact me and no negotiation, that moves the family towards an illusion of, you know, that mom may have, or they have some type of agency or moral obligation that they can do something to get their mother back. But this is a contradictory state or note to the very first one, because in this note here, nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. So it's like these notes are both arguing with each other. Are you getting that sense, John? Are you guys in the chat? Are you getting that sense?
I'm getting the sense that this second note in particular was floated out here as to lay the foundation for a criminal defense should the offenders be caught. And that we did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical condition. Okay, well, that's nonsense. We never intended to hurt her. Okay, there's nonsense too. You removed her from her home in the middle of the night. That was not our intention. Well, what was your intention entering the house at 2:00 in the morning of an 84-year-old woman? Call me judgmental and mean-spirited, but I'd argue that your intention was to hurt her because you went in her house in the middle of the night. She perished shortly after she was taken. Well, how can that be, since the earlier message is that we got 7 days? Okay. We believe it was heart-related. Well, how do you know that? She's buried in nature now. that's pretty, that's whatever, but nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. Well, that's true because you were the ones that took the old lady. We are truly sorry. No, you're not. Okay, because you wouldn't have taken the old lady. So, yeah, there's a complete argument here.
Yeah, and if there is a 4 day span between them, and she is obviously that means she has died between the second and the fourth or the sixth, so within 4 days. I thought
If
she died.
if we buy this chronology, you know what my belief is.
I know, and I'm of the same opinion. Okay, that she perished almost within probably 12 hours
Well, and I believe probably didn't
at the
emerge from the
house.
house living. But
Yeah.
we do need to explore this. It's important because this gives us insight into the thinking of the offenders. Uh, Again, these might have been written before the event or after the event. It does give us some insights.
Yeah, and which is going to lead us into our next lane of conversation here that John and I want to have with you guys. And we're going to call it "What is a virtual kidnapping?" Uh, and back in as Joe, who's in the chat, and Gloria, we love you guys. Woohoo! But as we know in Southern California, and being 30 miles from the U.S. border or 35 miles, whatever it is, from the U.S. border or the Mexican border, we had back in the day these extortion schemes where people would get brought up and then put in stash houses, and these kind of notes or phone calls or something like that would generate themselves. And John, talk a little bit about how some of these events would take place, where coyotes would hold
Well,
people
coyotes would
hostage.
hold. We had a regular cottage trade in the city of coyotes transporting pollos, is what they called them, chickens. And they would bring them into primarily the Center Street and East Side neighborhoods.
Yep.
They would initially say, "All right, $50 for the ride up," but when they got to the safe house, they would then say, "Guess what? The price has gone up." And and then they would put them like in an apartment or a small home. And the reason why they'd be coming to Oceanside would be because they had purportedly family and friends there. And they'd say, "Get in contact with them. We need more money, or we're going to execute you." And this was not uncommon. Or call your relatives back in Mexico, in Tijuana, and say, "Wire some money up here." It was a pretty regular cross-border trade. In fact, Chris will remember one of those instances where a border bandit did attempt to extort more money, and he ended up um, wandering around a neighborhood with a gun, thinking he had the world by the rear, and he didn't have the biggest gun in the neighborhood, and he ended up dead. So these sorts of things, I would imagine, are still happening.
Yeah,
So,
and one of the things, and this is what kind of was a tripwire for John and I when we saw this note. It was like, wait a minute, this almost sounds familiar to past incidents when you're dealing with the those who would hold people or something to that effect, because of what a virtual kidnapping is, and I use this, I know it's an oxymoron, but at the same time, there's this idea that says, okay, well, what if this just is smoke and mirrors, the letters, but what if they're real? So let's go down both of those paths. Okay. And the virtual aspect of this is, if they're not real, i.e., it's somebody taking advantage of the totality of the situation, like one Derek Kalala, okay, then those notes would fit perfectly with an extortion scheme built entirely on fear, speed, and a family's inability to reach their loved one in the moment. And that's exactly what took place. Because the moment those notes came in, Savannah panicked. It created this panic. And so what the suspect does is, as we just talked about a minute ago, by throwing that note into the mix, they create this sense of urgency and totality to where the victim's family start to lose control. And how do they do that? Well, a phone call, note, or text claiming a family member's being held. This was before the video of Porch Guy. Okay. Well, what if Porch Guy knew that? And the whole reason this guy had come back multiple times was to be on camera intentionally so that this person could create this sense of fear, and you don't have the ability to reach your loved one at this moment because I'm the masked guy on the front porch and I have your mom. Because the second piece of that is the threats of violence. Again, it creates this urgency and this panic. Okay. And panic. Okay. The third piece of this is a ransom demand. It has to be fast and only one form of payment. Okay. However, you have now in this scenario, in its totality, the last comment there, the victim, according to the suspect, there's mixed messaging here. And one of those mixed messages is, well, your mom's not really in danger because she's in your hands. And she knows that. But then the second note is apologetic in nature that, well, we're truly sorry. Nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. Again, it's conflicting. It's conflicting. John, thoughts?
Oh, one of the things, and you talked about it, notifying the family, yet at no point that we're aware of, and I'll stress that we don't have all the information, is there any proof of life offered. It's merely a statement, trust us, we've got your mom. And I've often wondered if these letters, well, the first letter, the one demanding the ransom, grew out of a secondary plot to say, well, we've done the elimination, but let's see if we can get some money out of it. Let's see if we can, as you've so clearly stated, by creating this environment of fear, urgency, helplessness, that we can pay the money and get mom back. So in one sense, that letter is menacing, yet it's very cynical. It's just a money grab. Believing it again. Let me stress that this is in conformance with my theory of what happened that night. I could be wrong, wouldn't be the first time, but I think that this may have been an outgrowth from the original vicious crime.
So let's say you hire a thug, okay, to be porch guy, okay, as Dr. Gary calls him, the waiter. He's got to be, actually, he should be the bouncer to the club, to the restaurant. And that means you also have a driver because the word we It sounds like there's more than one that took her. We never intended to hurt her. So that was not our intention. Look at the word we. We got we in the first sentence, we in the second sentence, our in the third sentence, and let's see here, we in the fifth sentence, and we in towards the
Yeah,
bottom.
we are truly sorry.
Yeah. So this person's talking for more than at least one other person. And the interesting thing here is it's addressed to Savannah and not the family. You know, not Annie, not Tommaso, not the brother-in-law,
Not Cameron.
not Cameron, none of it. Okay. So we started thinking a little bit more about this and say, you know what? Let's see if there's anything out there that kind of, let's dissect this script for a moment and look at everything about the psychological edge here that's going on here. Okay, first of all, and we'll call this the anatomy of this particular script. Okay. First of all, the claim, number one, we have your mother. That establishes, again, a premises instantly. No lead up. There's nothing going to lead up to this. We have your mother. And number two, to go over this one more time, she is safe, but she's scared. This keeps the target, i.e., Savannah, in this particular note, hopeful enough to comply. Number three, the manufactured deadline, a specific date and an hour. This removes, again, the time to think, to verify, or to plan in any way, shape, or form. Number four is the isolation aspect of this. You will not be able to contact me. That strips away Savannah's sense of control. Now, mind you, why is the suspect not stripping the entire family's sense of control? This is specific. You have a fighter pilot who's a brother. His whole life is control. They teach them how to breathe to prevent G-force hitting their bodies. But in this letter, the suspect's trying to isolate this sense of control by saying, you will not be able to contact me. Now, that's one out of two people. Why is this singular in nature? Because the second piece of this is no negotiations clause, number 5. That in of itself preempts any type of bargaining. And it pushes for full immediate compliance. That's dominance and control. So whoever me is much more dominant than we and the writer of we. The sixth piece here, and then I want you to weigh in, John, is the law enforcement warning. And that to me is the biggest tell of them all. Because this person, whoever wrote this, knows that if this was real, law enforcement's going to work it whether they like it or not. And so that kind of gives us a little edge into the perpetrator's thought process. What say you, John?
Well, I guess the very first thing I would say, particularly with item 6, is this person, as you say, first of all, slipped into singular instead of plural when he said, you will not be able to contact me, instead of you won't be able to contact us. So this suggests that whoever wrote this considers themselves the brains of the operation. But to say that warn them away from law enforcement, why use 3 syllables when you can say police? This is awfully precise. Or sheriff and FBI, but just say, or even cops, don't go to the cops. This is very formal. And again, I'm almost getting the sense that it's pumped up language to make the writer enhance the sense of I'm in control and I'm using big words. So
Yeah, and what's really interesting to your point, that's a great point, is it's almost like it's too much.
yeah, it is. It's too much. It's too verbose.
Yeah. It's too much in a very little container. It's like, what's the old analogy? You throw all the marbles in for the important stuff, right? And then you put all the sand around it. Okay. And it kind of, builds up, or you can put water and see what happens, how much, mass density and volume with inside of that container is. It's almost like this is the same situation. They want to project all this, mass density and volume with inside of this.
They're attempting to send a message of I am power. So there's
Right.
ego behind this message.
Yes, I concur 1,000%, which leads us to the next slide. And this is going to blow you guys away. All right. So I did a little homework back in trying to figure out, okay, where have I seen that? Where have we seen this before? And back in 2013, 2015, the modern wave of phone calls, notes, and messaging started to begin really with inside of the Vadios and in the Hispanic community. And it was being driven by the inside of Mexican prisons. And there were many cases that came out of Sonora, Mexico. One of them was the FBI LA division tracked early wave, and I'm reading from my notes, early waves of calls and notes and text messaging deep within Mexico. Almost all of these schemes they discovered originated within Mexican prisons, primarily in Nogales, Arizona, and deep in Sonora, Mexico. So Sonora was communicating to the prisoners in Nogales to basically extort folks outside in the communities. In Arizona, there were cases where some of these cases were extremely dramatic. One victim was convinced to stay in a hotel room for multiple nights. And in another incident, the victim's coworkers armed themselves inside a hotel room, thinking there were armed criminals outside and that they were coming for them. Both were resolved safely once the authorities got involved, but it was such a sophisticated scheme that the victims actually felt like they were being held hostage. Okay? Which created a whole new twist from across the border to the United States. Okay? Now, here's how it worked. It got so deep that in 2022, the Chicago field office had what they called the Affordable International Travelers Wave. Meaning, the FBI started flagging scammers who were searching the internet for targets by searching their social media posts, and who also were potential for international travel. They contacted the target's loved ones, claiming to have taken their particular family hostage. Now, in this case, we know she was taken. So I'm thinking outside of the box here and thinking, could this be a hybrid? Okay. And by the way, this is not a wrench attack. This is a whole different scam and a whole different scheme. All right. So their prevention tips, or excuse me, they contact the target's loved one and claim to have taken the loved one hostage. Now, by the way, there's a name for this, and it's called the Affordable International Travel Wave. And you can get it by looking at the FBI's website. You can dig into it. Okay. So the FBI put out tips that said, look, these are prevention tips. And right now you can see them on their websites that say, look, if you're traveling and travel dates are coming up, make sure you have passwords with family members in case an emergency or a loved one becomes trapped. So look at the top bullet point I have here. Scammers, they scour travel posts, flights, layovers, vacation photos to find targets that are generally hard to reach, i.e. a Savannah Guthrie. The second bullet point here is then they call the traveler's family, claiming to be holding them hostage abroad, while the real person is simply being, and in this particular travel scam, they can't be reached mid-trip. So I thought it was really weird that Kalila sends a text message right in the middle of all of this.
Yeah.
Is that a modified version of bullet point number 2? I don't know. I'm just thinking outside of the box. Okay.
Yeah.
Ransom in these types of scam attacks is only collected through a wire transfer and often split into smaller payments to multiple recipients. In this case, we have a Bitcoin wallet. And what's interesting about Kalila's text message is it's a question. And here's the other thing that I find fascinating. The question is, did you get the Bitcoin? And he uses the plural. We are waiting at our end. I don't know. I don't know if that's a coinkydink or if that's something the investigators need to look at a lot harder. And is that possible that this could be a one-off, type of situation where everybody's thinking, well, it's a Bitcoin or it's a wrench attack, when in reality it's just a low-level scam / abduction / we're going to kill her no matter what. John, thoughts?
Well, the part of the what you described with these operations where they would create, attempt to create fear where it didn't really exist, that's just an updating of the old Black Hand crimes from the turn of the last century. So yes, it's been changed.
Tell the audience about that.
Well, the Black Hand was connected with the Italian crime groups that came in, and what it was basically extortion, and they would contact people in the community and say, send them a letter, very often with a black hand print on it that would say, give us this money or we're going to do in your family or burn your house. And it happened in New York. Another place that was happened a lot was New Orleans. Um, and with the new communication technology, now we don't even need to have a visible threat. We can create it via communication. And one thing I'd recommend to anybody watching is, if you are going to post, on social media that you're going someplace, um, I wouldn't, I mean, not unless you've taken safeguards with password and such, because there's a world of people who are out there just looking for that information with an opportunity to exploit it. Now, looping back to Mr. Colella, I've often wondered if he's simply decided to take a chance, figuring what's the worst that can happen. They'll just tell me no, and not expecting that they would take it seriously, to jump on. There may be several, I call them remora, the little fish that swim around sharks' teeth, and um, remora who are attaching themselves to this larger crime, hoping to make some money off of it. It's also possible that the idea of demanding a ransom emerged afterwards, like, along the lines of, hey, I could have had a V8. Hey, we could have asked for some money. And so I'm almost getting a sense of disconnection between the ransom demand and then the apology letter. But I think your information is fascinating about these threats emerging from the prisons.
Well, and not only that, they started in Nogales, which is 69 miles from Nancy's house.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say Porch Guy is a hired thug and everything goes sideways, but he is familiar with these types of plays. And does this person panic and put it into motion and starts playing this social wave, this media wave? Okay. Because some of this is, really interesting correlation to find out here. Because if we go to the next one, right, in the world of AI today, okay, that the scam is the same, meaning after the fact, right? Because let's say this person is hired, hypothetically, Porch Guy is hired, and maybe somebody else in the circle is the driver. And then there's a third person who's going to be maintaining custody of Nancy while all of this other stuff is moving. One of the things that we have been trying to move Nanos towards is the fact that she's no longer in that house. So you need to start focusing on, we'll call it a retention pond. They had to take her somewhere. Either they had a pre-planned destination the same night, or they had a stash house that, according to the first note, they would have kept her in and then returned her back to Tucson, which I've never known anybody. I don't know, John, maybe you've worked a caper or know something where they can, push the person, to the stash house, and then, okay, we're done. Thanks for the money. Let's drive them back and drop them back in Tucson.
No, I mean, and I'm going to base that opinion on, we don't know how many kidnappings never make it into the media, that the police never learn about, but that impresses me as particularly the 12 hours away from Tucson. Now let's look at this as a logistic issue. Presuming that we'll speculate that indeed Nancy was alive when removed from the house. That I'm purely speculating. I don't believe that's the case, but let's just say for argument's sake, she was removed from the house. Now, are you going to put her in a motor vehicle and travel 12 hours or however long with a woman who likely is bound and gagged along roads that there are very few vehicles on? How do you explain that if the Arizona DPS pulls you over? You know, sir, I happen to notice you've got a woman wrapped in a tarp and gagged. You know, why are you doing that? So there's the logistic issue. You don't want to be running your victim around late at night when there aren't many cars around. My sense is there had already been a site that had been picked out.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, but it wasn't 12 hours away.
I totally agree. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this program tonight, because the more we talked about it, right, the more we brainstorm on this thing, none of this, everything keeps coming back to the house.
Yes.
It keeps, I mean, everything keeps circling back in the house to the house. I mean, in today's AI era, you would have expected some type of proof of life or something. That's what the family was asking for. That's what the feds were asking for. And that's what never got triggered in relationship to, you know, a payment being made. There were, my understanding, there was a small, you know, deposit of some type of money, and we don't know where that came from. I've heard it's, you know, TMZ or something like that. They may have put a small amount in there, okay? But you can't get a straight answer out of Nanos. Let me quote him.
And we still need to know what you know, because there's something out there that we don't know.
Okay, and you know, for those of you that didn't hear that, Sheriff, what do you think about that?
Know all the things we know, and we still need to know what you know, because there's something out there that we don't know.
Thank you. So
the real brainiac.
Yeah, he's a real keeper as a whole. But you would expect that if this was a sophisticated scenario in totality, that they would have been utilizing today's AI error tools. And that's why I think the note is more AI driven, the first one, than the second one. What are your feelings?
Well, two different motives. There are two entirely different motives for the communication.
I agree.
And the first one is overtly cruel, in the sense of I'm the puppet master Stromboli from Pinocchio, and I'm dancing you on the strings, and I'm exerting my force over you, and you're gonna and hopefully get money because hopefully I've injected enough fear into your life. The second one is more cynical, despite the language of "we're sorry." And again, merely my opinion. The second one is cynical in the sense that it attempts to make it look as if it just happened. It was like, you know, a storm. The rain fell. We had no control over it. It avoids assuming responsibility for really a vicious and evil action. And I see it mechanically, it's intended to lay the foundation for a defense in the event somebody's arrested.
Yeah, I mean, do you see note number 2 fitting this personality?
No. Not in the least. This guy couldn't spell parish if you gave him the P-E-R-I-S.
I'd like to buy a vowel.
Yeah, Pat.
You know, yeah, and so it's almost like, okay, wait a minute. In today's AI world, I agree. I don't see this guy, this thug, of saying, hey, I need to tell you that, there's nothing you could have done. It wouldn't have changed the outcome. But you know what? While I got you here, I'm really sorry. What? Where did that come from? Oh, and by the way, she's buried in nature. And she perished, and she's out in nature. She's out in nature now. But nature? Dude, what are you talking about? I think this case is not really that. Well, what do you think? I don't think this case is that complicated outside of just keep following the bouncing ball.
I don't think that it would have been as complicated as the level it's reached now had experienced homicide detectives taken control at the outset and hadn't relied excessively on the DNA will solve the case. The data will solve the case. The video imagery will solve the case. All very useful tools.
Well, wait a minute, John. Yeah. Let me ask the sheriff. Sheriff, what do you think about that?
Know all the things we know, and we still need to know what you know, because there's something out there that we don't know.
Thank you.
There
go ahead.
Are lots of things that you don't know. It's the fact of the matter is that we can't go back to the beginning and address this case the way it should have been. And I'm not trying to be hard on the investigators. Chris, you and I have both been young homicide investigators. You learn how to be one by working the cases and learning from more skilled investigators. That didn't happen. So it's easy for me to speculate and say, well, yes, if skilled investigators had been there, the case would have been on an entirely different trajectory. But I do believe that. I've had the sense that there has been, the investigation has been groping when it should have been, somebody should have been driving it forward. Somebody should have been at the park. Somebody should have been out contacting street informants. Maybe those things happened, but I think that a number of things have been either overlooked, like the mat, and really the mat could be a representative talisman for this entire case. A mat that should have been seized and left for, we don't know that it was ever seized.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I want to pick up also on one other thing that never changes. Every version of this particular scam that we've been talking about here depends on keeping the family engaged. Also, too rattled, too rushed, or too isolated to verify any information about their loved one, especially when they're unreachable, i.e., Nancy's gone. And so if we look back at the very first time these types of things came into the radar, it was 2013 to 2015 when authorities noticed calls were coming in from prisons out of Mexico. Phones were being smuggled in. And then in 2018 to 22, that's when the social media principle started to present itself. and they started hunting for victims, meaning those who would do this type of scam. And they would look for these victims closer to the border and border towns like Tucson, Nogales, which was one of the closest things out there. And they would try to convince the victimology or the victims that, you know, your family members, this is a real deal here. What if this is a hybrid, meaning the guy on the porch knows about this game and he tells the chef, hey, she's gone. We need to do something. Here's something that I've heard about or been involved in the past. And the idea has presented itself because now all of a sudden the authorities are seeing within 2025, 26, the advent of artificial intelligence coming in and the play of going to websites, sending ransom notes, going into, webs to hide their IP addresses, to mask their IP addresses, to encrypt those IP addresses. But there's a couple of anomalies here that are really big, in my opinion. Number one is the two notes were sent to separate news stations, but not Savannah's. Savannah worked at NBC at KVOA. Yet the letter, number one, is directed only to Savannah, but not to the source of employment that could have reached her the fastest. Meaning, if it went to an NBC station immediately, they could have picked up the phone and called New York. But instead, it went to the competitors. And that delayed the whole principle here of communication back to Savannah. And that's why Savannah had to ask, is it because of me? And her brother goes, yes, I think it's a kidnap for ransom. Now, that's a really interesting comment. Now that we are almost 7 months into this, that comment takes on a whole new meaning when you understand this principle of what we're presenting here tonight. What do I mean by that? The first thing that the FBI would ever want to do in a scenario like this is, number one, and John and I know this because we have dealt with hostage situations. The very first thing you do is you slow it down. Slow everything.
Resist the urge to do something. Put your hands in your pockets, slow it down.
Yep. Because the scam depends on speed and panic. And so we used to tell the caller, if they were getting phone calls, hey, I'm going to take notes, I'm listening, and I'm going to start writing everything down. Okay, we're going to write down every demand. We're going to write down timelines. We're going to write down, what they're saying, why they're saying it. And that person sitting next to the person who's on the phone or listening to somebody on the phone is a scribe. They're called the scribe. And behind that person is an intelligence officer. And the scribe is taking these notes, ripping them and handing them over their shoulder. And that person is running over to whoever is doing the intelligence play on this thing. And there's a whiteboard behind everybody. And everything is documented. So the guy on the phone is focused on listening to conversations. The guy next to him is focused on writing questions and gaining intelligence, sending it over to the guy on the phone so they can, hold it up or, hey, say that. Okay. It's the same principle when you saw Savannah sitting there with notes on her lap. But what was fascinating here, the more I look at this thing, is they're trying to direct the suspect in a certain direction. That's number 2 here. But they're asking for a proof of life. Give us a call, give us a text, give us a message that the victim's alive or that we can talk to this person. And I just put on the phone in this particular slide here. Okay. And then the third principle that you would always want to tie into here is you'd want to make sure that this person is actually talking about something they know. And this is where the watch, this is where the light, and that concept comes in. You can also ask for a pet's name, an inside detail, which they did here. Not information posted publicly that was floating out in the environment. Now, we don't know if the timeline is the family got there at 11 a.m. That leaves a huge window to do all kinds of stuff. I've never understood why the suspect allegedly would have broken that back floodlight. That is such a random scenario. Number one, I thought it was pitch black. And number 2, why didn't he break the front headlights? Meaning,
were they motion activated?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
And even if they are, okay, why are you jumping up there and just breaking the back lights and no other lights around you? And why are you coming on a full moon if you're worried about the light?
And do we even know that the back light was broken that night? Could it have been something earlier?
Exactly. Why did you show up earlier? Right? I believe those 2 pictures of porch guy are from different times, different nights. Because of the moon situation. I did a show. Maybe you were on that one, John, where I talked.
Yeah, you talked about. I want to say he was an astronomer, and he had the time and the moon, and he was able to tell you what time it was and where the moon was.
Yeah, he said around 2 a.m., around 2:20. That was his time frame, and it turns out it would have been close to 2:17, and that was through the longitude and latitude of the moon's positioning, based on the shadow of the suspect walking towards the porch. Okay. And so number 3 was accomplished, but number 1 and number 2, really, we can question it. Number 4 wasn't accomplished because they needed to know if mom was alive. But it's interesting with number 4, the suspect in the second note or in the first note volunteered to return her. What? Is this guy saying, "Hey, by the way, you're on loan here. I'm going to return you." Hey, Gary.
Hey, Gary. Chris, whenever I see this picture of this guy, I'm getting an increasing sense of a stage conjurer. He's what you're supposed to be looking at with the one hand, while the other hand is performing the magic. This guy is a diversion. Now, he may have been useful, he may have been muscle, but the entire approach to the house is that he expects to be seen. He's supposed to be seen. That's why the gun is in front, so that you can actually, he has a gun. There's and Gary has mentioned this. There's an element to this costume that's a little over the top. So I'm just thinking that this guy was his part of his role was to be seen and have everybody focus on him.
And perhaps was set up to get caught on the camera.
Yes, well, he may have even known he was on the camera. Walk up and be seen. So,
Yeah, and that's this, Gary. Just to bring you up to speed, we're going over one of the things that we've been talking about are the two notes. Okay, this is the second one.
You mean the full text now that we have?
Yeah, but I messed up on the first note. I thought I had the full text, but I had made a mistake. So, you know what I can do? Let me see if I can get Karen to take a picture of this. Well, actually, you know what? You guys hold the fort real fast. I will be right back. I'm going to go take a picture of this real fast, and then put it up for the audience. Okay, I'll be right back. Stand by.
well, sure.
John, why don't you catch me up on what you guys have been? I mean, I'm sure the audience. You mentioned that I was seeing patients and delayed.
Yes. No, we mentioned that you were seeing. What we've done is that we have examined both the first ransom note and the subsequent apologia, if you will, which I don't think it's a genuine apology. And we're in agreement that there were two different authors.
Yes.
And we also felt that both might have been submitted to some form of software or AI to, well, particularly the first one, to conceal the voice, if you will. And that we noted that on this one, the tenses changed. There's present tense, and then by the third sentence, she will be held for ransom. That's future tense. What do you mean she will be held for ransom? She is being held for ransom. So there are elements of this text that are pretty peculiar. But I also felt that it was meant to sort of a puffed up, I've got power, I've got ego, I'm controlling you.
Mm-hmm. It's also odd.
And I would love your impression on that.
Well, yeah, when Chris comes, I'm sure we'll pick it apart a little bit. But for starters, it's a little strange to tell Savannah her mother's name.
Yes.
Okay, so Gary and John, hang on. I just left it on the table.
You think that Savannah needed to be told her mother's name was Nancy?
Oh my goodness!
Needed to be reminded.
We have your mother, Nancy.
Yeah.
Just in case you didn't know which mother.
Okay, so here, and I'm sorry it's so small, but I should have prepared the slide, and I apologize. My mistake on this one. It says, hello, Savannah. We have your mother, Nancy. She is safe but scared. She will be held for ransom, and once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. Once payment is received to the Bitcoin address below, she will be released within 12 hours of deposit to a safe drop-off location back in Tucson. If the payment is not received by the last deadline on Monday, the 9th at 5 p.m., she will be killed. Your mother is aware of this, and her life is in your hands. It is in the best interest of everyone to have this completed as soon as possible. You will not be able to contact me from here on out. There will be no negotiation. Do not play games. Law enforcement will not be able to help you. Now, this note also included specific details about the crime scene, intended to prove legitimacy by saying She had a white smartwatch that was on the floor near her bed, like at the foot of her bed, excuse me. And then there was a floodlight that was destroyed in the backyard. The sender demanded $4 million in Bitcoin by February 5th, escalating to $6 million by February 9th if the first deadline was missed.
Very peculiar. Can I, before Gary jumps in, can I just say one thing?
Please.
Mushy phrasing. She will be killed. Well, actually, if you were going to be more direct about it, if you don't come up with the money, I will kill her. That is, I noticed that when people phrase something like that, it tends to be mushy, as if this person is still attempting to evade some responsibility for this, or she's already dead and they know it.
Yeah, but
I am waiting. We've been waiting breathlessly for you to take this apart, Gary.
no, but seriously, did you notice that it goes from we to me?
Uh-huh.
We have your mother. You won't be able to contact me.
Yeah.
The implication being that the one who wrote this note is the one who sees himself as in control. Mm-hmm. Right. So there's a we only because I need helpers, but this is me. And and I think that is partly the reason that I think whoever the chef was wrote this, and the second note was written by some female Confederate. I think they're very different. And the second one was probably written much to this person's chagrin. Would be my guess.
But there's a we in the second one too, Gary. Here's the second one.
Right. Because the person who wrote the second note has no problem with it being a we. First one is the arrogant one. The second one is happy with the we. But if you go to the first one, let's see what we can, if us three.
Well, and the we is also a way of spreading the blame around. If this is a way of laying the foundation for a criminal offense, it wasn't me, it was we.
Oh yeah, a lot of that feels defensive. But can that be enlarged at all, Chris?
It can't. I apologize to that. I can. There's a couple phrases in this one. I
can make it out.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just saying that I was able to enlarge it on my screen, and I can read it. Can you guys?
I can read it.
Yeah.
All right. So don't trouble yourself. It's all right. I'm able to see it. So how would you guys like to proceed? Should we?
Let's take it from the top. Yeah, let's take it apart from the top. And I got to go grab. I got to go grab the original. I'll be right back again.
Okay.
Begin without me.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, Savannah. We have your mother, Nancy. As I said, I think it's odd to tell Savannah. First of all, why is it addressed only to Savannah?
Now, let me ask a question, Gary. A number of people have tried to draw a connection between the Hello, Savannah with the Silence of the Lambs, the character of Hannibal Lecter saying hello. I don't see that. No.
I don't think so. First of all, off the bat, and this is something that I think Chris will appreciate, and you worked as hostage negotiator, right? So you know that statistically speaking, authentic ransom notes tend to be very short.
Yes.
They are very directive, and the author knows that the more you say, the stupider you are. The point of the message is to prove life and get what you want as quickly as possible. You don't create a situation where somebody could take days and the price goes up, because you could lose everything if the person dies. And this is an 84-year-old alleged hostage.
Woman in ill health. We mentioned this before a second ago. This thing reads like the agreement on the back of a parking ticket at long-term airport parking. It's got you just nailed it. It's not short, sweet, and to the point. It's got you know, if you don't do this, then this will happen, and so.
Right.
But
It's
go
too
on.
long. Statistically speaking, it's too long for an authentic ransom note. Where we do see long, rambling ransom notes are fake ones, like in the John Benet Ramsey case, because the purpose is to create a pretext or a narrative that throws you off the track, just like Porch Guy was designed, I think, to create a false narrative and intended to get caught on camera. But either set up or told to do it intentionally. But if you sort of look at this carefully, I mean, first of all, it's very odd that it's directed only to Savannah. And I think that's because Savannah was seen as the kind of cash source by whoever is involved here. It's almost as if everybody else is irrelevant, and which is sad if finances are at play. And then I think it's very strange to tell someone their mother's name. We have your mother would be enough. To say we have your mother Nancy is strange. I mean, I'm not really sure why you would feel the need to do that. She is safe but scared. She will be held for ransom, and once payment is received, she will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. But it doesn't say we'll kill her. It's not committal to what it means if you don't pay, but I suppose you're supposed to just know that. Once payment is received. Now, by the way, does the writing sound to you stilted, like as if it were written by AI or a foreign individual, or English is not their first language or something like that? It's very stilted and
somebody attempting to employ multisyllabic words to convey a sense, and it may have been modified by a program, but yeah, it is there are way too many words that are
definitely.
Somebody say Google Translate.
Something like that. Once payment is received to the Bitcoin address below, she will be released within 12 hours of deposit to a safe drop-off location back in Tucson. Now, that's interesting that it says back in Tucson, because then, of course, by implication, she's not being held in Tucson, or whoever is writing it is trying to give the impression of not being in Tucson, which, of course, makes me think they're from Tucson. Because you're going out of your way to suggest you're not in Tucson, chances are that's exactly where you are. If the payment is not received by the last deadline, the word deadline takes on a very disturbing double meaning, on Monday the 9th at 5 p.m. Now, notice it doesn't say 5 p.m. in a certain time zone. It says 5 p.m., which also argues that the person writing this is in the same time zone as the people who are receiving it, and they're making a logical assumption. In other words, they're not in some foreign country or something. They're right there because they don't give a time zone. She will be killed. Your mother is aware of this, and her life is in your hands. It is in the best interest of everyone. Now, who's everyone?
Well, why would you even bother to say that? I mean that's obviously it'd be in everybody's best interest.
Right, but I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm not sure who that means, but okay. To have this completed as soon as possible. You will not be able to contact me from here on out. There will be no negotiation. Do not play games. Law enforcement will not be able to help you. Okay. The note also included specific details about the crime scene intended to prove legitimacy, stating she had a white. Okay, fine. So what jumps out at me is that the person who wrote this is male, a dominant person with a very mechanical, not particularly empathic or emotional mind, financially preoccupied, a little nasty, some unnecessary condescension and little kind of nastiness in there. This is not a very nice person, and has given away accidentally their location not terribly far from where the crime happened, which all points to me to someone who knew her and lives in the area. I wouldn't be surprised if whoever did this lives not even 50 miles away from her. Now, let me see the next note, the one that is clearly written by a different person. We did not fully grasp. Now, here the language is more florid and poetic. We did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical conditions. We never intended to hurt her. That was not our intention. She perished shortly after she was taken. We believe it was heart-related. Now, notice something about heart-related. It's hyphenated. Go back to the first note. Now, let's see how many things should be hyphenated that aren't. Once payment is received, Bitcoin address you will release within 12 hours a day to say drop-off should be hyphenated, and it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Your mother is aware that she is in the best interest of everyone to have the complete as soon as possible. You'll be able to contact me from here on out. There will be no negation, blah, 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 blah. Okay. It's interesting that the person who thinks to put a hyphen in the compound word in the second letter doesn't do it here. That doesn't make sense to me. The second person, by inference, speaks English better. I deduce that the person who wrote the first note speaks English as a second language, and the person who wrote the second is an English-speaking woman. We will not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical conditions. We never intended to hurt her. That was not our intention. She perished shortly after she was taken. We believe it was heart-related. She is buried in nature now. Okay, nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. We are truly sorry. Now, what's interesting about this is, I think the person who wrote this not only knew Nancy, but knew Savannah. And what's interesting about this is that there seems to be the first motive seems to be to distance the self legally and emotionally. But the second seems to be to make Savannah feel useless.
Mm-hmm. So there's a cynical theme to this that's almost like I'm rubbing sand in a wound.
Right. You always think you could take care of everything. Well, guess what?
You couldn't.
You couldn't do it. Right. We are truly sorry. And we are truly sorry takes on a snark if you interpret it that way. Right. And so I also, I'm fascinated by the we and the me and the, So, but I really do think that the first one sounds like a person who's learned English later in life. And the second one sounds like someone quite fluent in English. In fact, quite good at English. Hyphens in compound words are not very typical of stupid people. You understand? It's sort of like the word attaché being accented in the JonBenet Ramsey fake ransom note. Idiots don't put accents on attaché. So anyway, but that fascinates me. Do you see what I mean about that? If you go out of your way to say back in Tucson, that's to give the false impression you're not in Tucson. And then they slip up with the time zone. And also that reminds me of like the sort of pathetic attempt at setting the stage by putting the flower pots and all these kinds of things. And it has that same feeling of like the pathetic attempts of a liar to throw you off. It's not a very good liar. So, but I think that the other thing that you can sort of deduce is the first person's feeling about Savannah and Nancy is not as personal as the feelings about them of the second person. The second person has a mixture of love and resentment, feeling and resentment, guilt and remorse mixed with, I don't want to get in trouble here. And the first person is all business, couldn't care less. I don't think they're the same psychology, and neither of them strikes me as porch guy.
I would agree with that 1,000%.
Right.
I don't see this guy as the note writer.
No way. Certainly not with those gloves on.
Or the gun.
Right, or the gun. I mean, he's a dope. And so but I think that's what I kind of see here. Distancing, guilt, a split with the first person. I think this was a missed opportunity on the part of law enforcement. I also think if you wanted to get very Freudian, to say we believe it was heart-related has a double meaning, because what the author means is we think that your mother died because of her heart. But there's a sort of accidental giveaway there that this was emotional in nature. This crime
was heart-related.
It's not money-related. It's heart-related.
Yeah, it was, yes.
You see? The little accidental slip-ups that people do are fascinating. But I think
like
the
like
job,
like
yeah,
built up resentment concepts.
something like that. Yeah, exactly.
Like
The
being
person who
heart
wrote
sick.
this second note, it's heart related. For the first person, it's money.
Interesting. That's an interesting catch.
And I always say that where you see modifiers on words, you're actually attempting to enhance something you don't feel. So when you say, we are truly sorry, we're sorry is enough. But when you start putting truly in, you're it's just window dressing. And I consider the first three sentences, and I mentioned this earlier, to be just silly. You know, we didn't grasp the seriousness of her conditions. We never intended to hurt her. This was not our intention. Well, if you entered her house at 2 a.m. of an 84-year-old woman, feeble woman in poor health, what exactly did you think was going to happen?
Why was she bleeding if when you took her, you thought she was fine, and then something heart related happened to her? Where's the blood coming from?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a
Well,
stupid,
and
yeah, right.
what's interesting also here is we did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical conditions. That's plural.
Mm-hmm. So they knew it was multiple health issues.
She had multiple health issues, and they're saying, well, but we didn't understand the totality of that. What did that mean? I mean, that's what I'm getting out of this, which leads me into that, again, that premeditation concept we talked about last night. You know, well, they must have had some type of foreknowledge that she had some problem, because you would not say we did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical conditions.
Yeah, you're right, Chris. What it means is they were aware of some level, but we didn't understand how bad it was.
So
Yes,
go ahead, Gary.
Well, if you take my approach of seeing everything as an attempt to say the opposite of what you really mean,
Right.
then you can interpret it to mean that the person is saying, part of the problem here is we were way too aware of her health problems, and it was driving us crazy. You know what I'm saying? Right.
You're right.
You're
right. Right. Now, I don't say that to cast any kind of respect, but I just think that everything here, you literally have to translate it to it's opposite speak. Right? So if you were to translate this from opposite speak.
Ixnay, Gary.
Yeah,
Here,
right.
Wait a minute. Let me ask the sheriff. Gary, hang on just for a sec. Hey, Sheriff Nanos, what do you think about what Dr. Brucato's saying?
Know all the things we know, and we still need to know what you know, because there's something out there that we don't know.
Thank you. Go ahead.
It's Calvin and Hobbes' opposite day. For those who remember the old Calvin and Hobbes comic strip, it's opposite day.
Opposite day. Well, if you were to take this in the bizarro world version of this and you translate it into the upside down language, it would say, we were way too aware of the seriousness of Nancy's physical conditions. And so we wanted to hurt her. And that was our intention. And she perished before she was even taken out of the house. We knew that it was heart related, right? She's not buried anywhere. And you probably could have done something about it, but we want you to think you couldn't, and we don't care. I mean, literally, that's, if you translate it from opposite speak, that's probably the truth. You see what I'm saying? It's fascinating. Yeah. This is a liar. What'd you say?
Yeah, I mean, I said from the outset, this is cynical. This is not an apology. This is
opposite speak.
This is in your face.
Right.
You're on fire. Keep going.
That's
I've been waiting for this show for a long time with you to hear you, because
anybody, right? Did you have a caretaker? Did you have someone who worked for her? Did somebody that found her cantankerous? Did somebody find her a burden? Did somebody? But it's all the opposite. And as I keep saying, I think this is written by a woman. An emotional woman who feels something for Savannah and the mother, but there was some emotionality there that was negative, and the first person couldn't care less. That was money, money, money. And so whatever that means, I mean, that's what I wring out of the notes.
Well, and the other thing that you pointed out here is you feel that this person doesn't grasp the English language as well
No.
as this person.
And you notice, this is the other thing that's very interesting, and see if we really want to wring a little bit more out of this orange.
Yeah, let's go.
More juice out of this orange. Isn't it interesting that the second author didn't help the first person to write it in better English?
Oh, interesting.
Don't you think if their relationship was fantastic and they were getting along, and the second person was really in on it to the same degree, they would have said, I'll write that with you. Instead of you having to put
or we need to write it this way.
Or we need to write it this way. Exactly. I'm telling you, you can infer there is a tension between the author of the first note and the second one. And I think the second one is having emotions and fear about what happened, especially after nothing worked out as it was intended.
How do you think it? I love it. I love where you're.
That's what I think. And I think law enforcement should have, at the time, went on TV and said, we think the person who wrote that note is having some regrets. And we think the person who wrote the first note doesn't care about you. Throw them under the bus. Come forward. Save yourself. Spare yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We believe you're the one with a heart-related issue. Your heart's broken. Come forward. You know, that kind of thing. But it wasn't done. Instead, this is leaking out through the press now in July, when it has no meaning anymore. There's been no further communication from this dynamic duo. See? So that opportunity was lost. Yeah.
It's interesting that only one person wrote a card about love and a broken heart.
Oh.
What you're saying is, my gears are going, and I'm thinking, you know what? Now while you guys are talking, now I got to go look up that letter. I got to go look up the card. I got to pull the card up real fast. I'll be right back. You two carry on. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to look it up.
Well, I'm not, obviously I'm not suggesting who wrote, only the name.
No, I know. This is, this is my thought process. I just want to see if there's any correlating things that you've mentioned here. Because I think what you've just said, Gary, is brilliant as always. And then, with the three of us here and John, this is a fascinating new dynamic. And I'm really excited that we did this show tonight, because you're opening up. I remember the day you opened up the principle about Koberger before they even caught him. And because I was there, and it was one of those holy crap moments. I'm having that moment here with your interpretation of what we're reading here. So I don't want to lose my thought process. Let me go grab that other card. I want to see the language in the other card. So I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you think about my point, John, about, well, Chris is doing that it's a little strange that the second author didn't help the first author?
Well, that would suggest to me that there was already a rupture occurring, probably even on the night of the crime, and that there's a certain almost mercenary element. Now, there's mercenary element with the money, but I get the sense that the author of the first letter is also a man who wants to be thought of as a big man. And probably living with somebody or being in contact with somebody like that naturally becomes tedious, but now the stakes have been upped.
Yes.
And it's things have not gone as planned. And so, yeah, I think we're seeing a rupture here.
That's what I think, for sure. And I think that the first person would not have been happy about this second note?
Oh yeah, I think you're absolutely correct, because and it would have been twofold. It would have been seen as a form of betrayal.
Yes.
That I'm the boss and you've betrayed me, but also it probably would have injected fear because you may lead them to us. Yeah, this dynamic, and as I said earlier, I said the porch guy, no, he didn't write anything. So
now, someone did say in the chat, which I found very interesting, that the phrase "she is with nature" actually exists. Now, I don't know if this is true, but the person in the audience said that that phrase actually exists in Slavic languages, and if you were to literally translate it, she died, you would say she is with nature now, and that's interesting.
there we go.
Yeah.
Well, that is interesting that it would be a phrase. It sounds to me even like, would it be in Slavic poetry? Would it be, because there is something, although as I've said, I consider the second letter to be really mean-spirited and nasty, despite the words. It does contain a certain lyrical cadence. And so I'm wondering if that phrase might have been lifted from some Slavic literature.
Who knows? But the person in the audience who apparently speaks a Slavic language said that that's a translation. If you literally translate,
it's fascinating. Thank you for posting that.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can prove that. I'm interested in that. But
it's interesting. The very first word is "we."
Mm-hmm.
The very first "we" word is "we."
Who are the three people it's signed from? Is that Itumaso? Who's the third? Is that
that's
son?
their son? Yeah, Homo says, "Mama, we miss you so much." Explanation: our hearts are broken. So she's speaking for all three.
Mm-hmm.
We are standing on ash, on scorched earth. But Mom, though we are surrounded by so much darkness and uncertainty, our love burns bright.
Now there's your second reference to something burning. The third, ash, scorched, burned.
You read my mind.
We love you, Mommy. We miss you so much. Our best friend. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We did not fully grasp the seriousness of her physical conditions. We never intended to hurt her. That was not our intention. She perished shortly after she was taken. We believe it was heart related. She is buried in nature now. Nothing you could have done could have changed the outcome. We are truly sorry. If you go back to the first guy,
those are not written. The first and second note are not written by the same intelligence.
Oh, I concur. Now. I mean, it's clear as day now.
That's right. And it's also clear that that second person who could easily have written that first note didn't. And I think, it's interesting. I think the first person might have used a tool to try to get, to write it. But this person is writing like, on a pad, just what's flowing out of their mind. The first person is making an attempt to sound crisp and to the point and make a demand and all that. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
because
let's face it. I'm sorry, Chris. Let's
no,
face it. That second note destroyed any chance that anyone was going to pay the ransom on the first note. So if you tell that the person is dead, why would anybody put the money in Bitcoin? That's why I concluded that the first person was furious at the second person.
Yeah, because payday was canceled.
Payday got canceled.
Yeah.
Why would you set that up and then have somebody else go, someone else sneaks behind your back and sends another note from the same email address?
Well, particularly since Savannah had said they would pay.
So that's what I'm saying. That sounds to me like somebody who said, I don't want this dirty money anymore. This is
or I'm scared that when the money does come, they're going to be able to trace it to us.
Right. I always pay attention to my free associations when I talk to a patient or an offender, or I read something, and they always wind up telling me something later. If I think about a certain line from a book or literature or a character or whatever. And when I read that second note, what I picture is Judas with the 30 pieces of silver, throwing them into the temple because they've lost all worth. And that's what I feel, that somebody who had some feeling about this woman hurt her and then realized that they got nothing. And this is the throwing the coins,
the writer of this note,
what's the worth of them,
brings in the plural principle the exact number of times the writer of this note does.
Mm-hmm.
The word
interesting.
Yeah. The writer of this note uses the word we 1, 2, 3, 4 times.
5 times.
5 times. Where's the fifth one, John?
First line, we miss you so much. Third line, we're standing on ash. But Mom, though there's we love you, Mommy. We miss you so much, our best friend. So there are 5. And again, I'll note that love is underlined unnecessarily and barely recognizable as the word love.
Got it. This one, we have 1, and keep me on the right track on this one as well. 1, 2, we never intended. That was not our intention, which is a
plural.
Another connection, plural, right? We again, so that's 1, 2, 3.
And notice this, Chris, as you count. She perished shortly after she was taken. Again, that's an avoidance of responsibility. She perished shortly after we took her, is really what happened.
Yeah, so they both have 5 if we count our as, the plural connection. Maybe nothing. Interesting, though. Very interesting that, and I don't know what the cadence is in this.
It's lyrical.
AI. Everything's been put through AI.
Yeah, exactly. It's been put through Coach. Whenever I write an email, I get an invitation from MSN for Coach to rewrite it.
What's your thought process about this, John? I mean, you mentioned the word love is underlined.
It's underlined, and the letters are scrapped. Look at the spacing between most of the rest of the letters. Well, for starters, let's look at the first 2, the first 3 lines. Mama, we miss you so much. Our hearts are all broken. The writing, which is kind of a combination of printing and a little bit of cursive, it's all kind of, it tends to angle downward, which to me suggests depression, sadness. The exclamation marks are thrown in to me. They look to me as if they're afterthoughts. Like, I want to emphasize this point. We miss you so much. Well, we would assume that. We're standing on ash on scorched earth. Now we're back more on an even plane. Now, let me stress, I am not a graphologist, but I've done some reading, and my eyes will tell me stuff. But Mom, though we are surrounded by so much darkness and uncertainty, our love burns bright. All of that's on a pretty even keel. Then we start seeing choppiness. We love you, and then there's a huge space, Mommy. Now, and usually when there's a huge space when you're writing, it means that you've come to a place where you're lost for words. So we love you. What was she going to write? There's apparently some pause before she eventually writes Mommy, but there's a space which tells me some thought went into that. We miss you. Now that miss is, again, the letters are all crabbed together. Do we? And there's no dot above the I. So that could say mess you. We could, again, it's not carefully written and the letters are close together. We miss you so much. We know that it's supposed to be best friend, but again, the lettering is kind of obscure here. And then the 2 exclamation marks.
Well, and you have in this one, that was not our intention. Our best friend.
Yep.
We. So you have, what strikes me on this is why why do you have to, put the explanation there? Why are you forcing it into the note?
Yeah, that's an excellent point too. Well, why is this much explanation needed?
Gary?
Well, I have to tell you, and let me be clear that I cannot say anything about the particular person we know wrote this, because I'm being very careful about that.
I understand. Yeah.
But one thing that struck me about this, I mean, even the first time I read it, is that there's a misuse, at least it may be a misuse, of the phrase on scorched earth. The expression on scorched earth means, as you both know, the brutal military technique of destroying everything in your path as you leave an area so that the descending army cannot use it. You set fire to the crops and the property and everything else so that you go scorched earth. It means you burn everything down to spite the person that's trying to come in and take something from you. Now, why the heck would that phrase be used here? We're standing on ash on scorched earth. So what's the implication of calling that scorched earth?
Scorched earth is something you do to your own land.
Exactly.
Or your enemy.
You do it to spite an enemy. In other words, you hurt yourself to spite an enemy. That's what scorched earth means. You're not getting what I have, even if I have to lose it myself. Now, why the heck is that phrase here? Now, I'm guessing that it was misused, that the way that the author means it, the way that whoever wrote this means it, is everything's been destroyed.
Yep.
But that's a misuse of the phrase. And it is very interesting to think about its actual meaning. So it's also, there's a quality to it. Now, look, let me be very, very careful about this. But, I was inspired years ago by the wonderful writer Jameson, the psychiatrist who famously has publicly spoken about her own bipolar disorder. And she wrote this book called Touched with Fire, about the relationship between emotion and writing and painting and everything, bipolarity especially. And what she talks about is how in some writing you get this black and white, light and dark, good and bad kind of quality.
Dualistic.
dualistic writing because it reflects a kind of bipolarity or fragmentation within the author. And so she would say something like, well, you know, for Dickens, who was probably bipolar, to write "it was the best of times, it was the worst of times" is not surprising, because it's this black and white, manic depressive kind of worldview, right? And there is an emotionality to this note in the sense that we get that good and evil, light and dark, that, you know, whatever kind of fragmentation going on. And that's interesting too. There's a black and whiteness in terms of how it's philosophically kind of driven and all of that. But I think it's important to emphasize that according to what we know, you know, that this note is written by somebody who's a member of a family that has lost a loved one and is expressing pain. But it's interesting at the same time to kind of think about it in the way we are.
I find that's an interesting dynamic. I do, to your point.
About the
And-
black and white and the good and evil and the
Yeah, and it's a dynamic from which kind of leans me into the dynamics of the family. Why does the brother lean over and lean into, well, yeah, this is because of you, to Savannah?
I mean,
in one sense, you have this picture being painted, and then the other sense, you have Savannah going, "Is it because of me?" And he goes, "Yes, sweetie, it's because of you. I believe it's because of you." And I'm paraphrasing, of course. But you get this swing of the pendulum in the dynamics of the siblings, where the older brother is basically, I mean, you can't get much right to the heart as quick as that. This is a kidnap for ransom. Remember when he said that and everybody went, how the heck did he know that? And then Savannah comes out and says, well, you know, he's a military intelligent man, you know, yada, yada. And he just knew. And then she says something to the effect of, well, is it because of me? Do you think it's because of me? And he goes, yes, it's because of you.
I'll be right back.
So, what do you think, John?
Forgive me. I just need a quick break for a second.
Yeah, no worries.
I don't know how he came to that conclusion so quickly and so certainly. And I thought that, and again, I don't know the internal family dynamic. Perhaps they, they don't pull any punches when they talk to each other. But if I thought under similar circumstances, my sister said, was it me? I'd want to hedge my bets just so that I didn't make her feel worse than. But again, if he's brutally honest, and you can't fault that. But
no, but if your sister came to you and says, "Do you think it's because of me?" I think,
don't know.
Right.
The appropriate answer is I don't know.
Yeah, and the qualifiers, or why would you think that?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Why would you? And then how does he come out? To the comment a minute ago, it's common sense. Well, it wasn't common sense that this was a kidnap for ransom. The notes hadn't come in, none of that stuff. This was that day on the phone. She's calling her brother. And he goes, well, this is a kidnap for ransom. Well, how does he know that? Where did he hear that? Where did that come from? It could have only come from one other source, and that was Annie and Tommaso.
Well, exactly. And to say it was common sense, well, the law officers there did not say, they looked at it as it being a homicide. They didn't look at it as being a kidnapping for ransom. So it's just, I don't know how he came to that place, and I don't know whether in a similar situation, I wouldn't have handled it differently. Like, well, let's wait and see. It's early. We don't know. Because you're certain, the mere fact that Savannah asked the question tells you that she's already agonized over the possibility that she's been responsible for this. And so I don't know why you would want to make her feel worse. But again, I don't know the family dynamic. So
Yeah, I just thought it was completely not very sensitive and or considerate of where Savannah was at that moment.
yeah.
And
I mean, the question alone tells you she's already loading her invisible backpack with guilt over this. Do you really want to add another 50 pounds to that backpack? But again, I'm speculating on something. I might be completely wrong about it.
well, and yeah, but I don't know because he had to get that from somewhere.
Yes. And somebody had to have told him that with the dearth of information that would have been available to him that we're aware of. Yeah, somebody had to have primed the pump, as it were.
Yeah, because at that point, to your point, the authorities are going, okay, what do we have here? I don't see them standing around going, well, we got a kidnap for ransom. And no notes, no nothing has come in yet. And they got the search and rescue team out looking for a woman who allegedly walked away. That doesn't line up. So that narrative, I think that's one of those, anomalies where you go, well, why is the back light? Why is this motion light hanging here? It's almost like it was staged to, like it was broken. You got the back doors propped open. What kind of suspect who's going to take an 84-year-old woman out the front door props the back doors open?
And the blood trail that we've seen with the directional arrows in it shows us that she was taken from the front door.
Doesn't make sense.
So they're staging here. I've heard people say, well, no, she couldn't have been dead because there was blood that was that would have indicated that she'd been breathing. Well, no, not necessarily, because yes, people don't bleed after they're dead, but depending on the direction a body is being held, or the nature of the injuries are, blood can fall. So
yeah, they're talking about the aspiration on the tires up front.
Yeah,
I think that's what they're saying. If we look at the anomalies here, she's got all her stuff in the house, car keys, hearing aids. We did the whole show last night. If you guys missed it, please go watch that show as well. Everything is there. Her purse, it's all there. She's sound asleep in her bed. This guy shows up in the middle of the night. Boom. She disappears. Next morning, she doesn't show up for her church, scheduled service. Family is called. Sheriff says they got there around 11. That was in the very first press conference. Anybody can go hear it. And then that changed to 11:56. That's a 56-minute either huge error or
know all the things we know, and we still need to know what you know, because there's something out there that we don't know.
Either that or the sheriff got it right at 11 a.m. because that was the first information he was told, which is typically the best information for the moment as it's flowing. Go ahead, Joe.
One thing that we addressed early on months ago, what did she have in her schedule coming up? Because I feel that the date, there was a reason why this occurred at the time it did. And I don't think it's necessarily because it was connected to a Wiccan practice. What sort of appointments did she have? What sort of events were going on in her life? Things that she was going to be doing that were coming up? Because we're in agreement that the suspects were somebody within the orbit of the Guthrie family.
Yep.
And that would lead you to wonder why that time was something coming up that forced them to move.
Well,
And
people are saying the Olympics with Savannah going there to be a broadcaster.
I don't see an overt connection, but there certainly might be one that's more occult, that's more that's less obvious, and that speculation is as good as any other. Was she going to see a lawyer? Was she going to do something with financial planning? Was there some event coming up? She just had a birthday. People customarily around their birthdays will have medical appointments, will do their annual check-ins. This is part of the victimology that I hope to God was done.
Yeah, I think this is more about Nancy than it is about Savannah.
Oh yes, I agree.
I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, and that's okay. All right, but I think this was more. There was some life event or something going on, because number one, for the suspect to take that high of a risk to trigger worldwide attention on this, knowing that Savannah was going to the Olympics, and to try to, okay, one way I can pay her back is to take her mother. And that's going to really hurt her. And then simultaneously say, oh, by the way, give me $4 or $6 million because we're going to kill your mom. And then the second note is, never mind, we changed our mind. She's already dead. We didn't mean to kill her. There's nothing you could have done, but I'm sorry. This guy is not saying, hey, I know Savannah's leaving for the Olympics in the next couple of days, so I might as well put this in motion and take her mother, and that way I can get all the attention from the world coming down on me. I think this guy here has wanted to lower his risk as low as possible. And I think this guy's job was just to go in and do the dastardly deed.
And be seen. He needed to be seen.
Yep. You get in there.
Why he dressed up that way. Yep. That
You dress up like a hefty trash bag. Make sure nobody sees you. Get the Walmart mask. Get all the Walmart clothing. Make sure you get the Walmart backpack, and you go do your thing. And again, there's that gap in that letter. The second note, we didn't mean to hurt her. Well, they had to take her somewhere.
Yeah, you pulled her out of her bed in the middle of the night. I would have to guess, if you're bright enough to string these sentences together, you had to have at least had some foreknowledge that this was going to, at the very least, scare her to death. But you were going to move her, so yeah, you were going to hurt her. This is BS.
Yeah, I concur. I think this is noise. I've said it from the beginning. Mm-hmm. I think this is an afterthought. It's a panic mode in the team here.
Yeah, and it's the team is you had a person panicking, and then a person who's also got a secondary motive of, if we get caught, I can point to that letter and say, I didn't mean to hurt her, and it was never our intention. And this is obviously somebody that doesn't understand the law, because whatever you intended, it's called the felony murder rule. you entered the house committing a burglary with the intention let's just assume the scenario that they're saying is we entered to kidnap her. Doesn't make a bit of difference. She died. That still makes it first-degree murder. You don't get to say, oops, we didn't mean it.
Yeah, I think they got her out of there. The blood is real. I think obviously it's Nancy's. But the next morning, I feel that there may be some other things that could have been set up.
I concur. Welcome back, Gary.
Hey, sorry, I had a cold that came.
That's
No,
okay. No need
fine.
to apologize.
I'm a busy boy.
I mean, because it just the other thing that I've always had a problem with is this idea of this guy going before he even takes her. Hey, I got to prop the door open. Well, why? What do you mean you got to prop the door open? Yeah, we got to prop the door open. Why? Because we're going to take her out the back. Well, okay, but you do know, right, that she has physical problems. Yeah, I know. I know. Okay, so what are we gonna do? We're gonna carry her out? What are we gonna do? Where are we gonna park the car? What are we gonna do? I don't know, but let's just prop the door open and take the light down. That to me just doesn't fit in any scenario. That's almost like an afterthought to me. It's like somebody got there and said, you know what, let's make this look like they were going to go out the back door with mom.
Yeah, let's make the scene confusing.
Yeah. And when we get a chance, let's send a couple of letters later on and fire it up and get Kalala, to kick us in a couple of phone calls or text messages. Okay. We still don't know who he called in that 9 seconds. And
they declined to identify.
Right. And that, I mean, it just, again, and for the record, everybody, these are really good for investigators. And in my opinion, anyway, for the homicide guys to be putting all this up on a board somewhere and going, okay, what DLR doesn't look right? What doesn't sound right? And what doesn't feel right? You got 3 columns. What's not right here? And then you can go through and you can eliminate each one of these things. And you say, well, does that make sense? No. Okay, well, let's take it off the board. Let's put it over here on this one, column number 4. And what are you left with? You're left with the sheriff saying 11 a.m. the family got there, changed to 11:56. The garage door we have 2 times, 9:48, 9:50. We don't know how the family got in. We're not going to talk about that. We're going to leave that as mystery meat. You guys all can guess. Okay. Blood on the porch. We don't know who that belongs to yet at the time, but ultimately it does belong to Nancy. And we expect to find DNA within the house that you would expect to be in there, quote unquote.
Know all the things we know, and we still need to know what you know, because there's something out there that we don't know.
Meaning, if you expect the brother-in-law to be in there, if you expect the daughter to be in there, you expect the neighbors to be in there, you expect the pool guy to be in there, that DNA is always going to be in there. Now, if there is a total anomaly to this guy, okay, fine. He's the guy that took her. That's not a question. That's not a question. But how did he get in? Did he have a key? Did he break a door? Because apparently he left the door open in the back.
Yeah, there was apparently no forced entry. If we presume that this woman was a normal, like I am, I'm an old guy, I lock the doors.
There's not an 84-year-old woman.
Reasonable to speculate that he had a key.
There's not an 84-year-old woman in that neighborhood, okay, that are calling 911 on streamers that don't have their doors locked.
Yep.
Sorry. I don't buy that one. Hey, Mom, you've lived here for, 50 years. I'm glad you're leaving your doors open at night. Can you imagine having that conversation with your mother who's 84 years old, living in that neighborhood, who recently, within 20 years, they had a rape series going on in that neighborhood, the same area, Catalina Hills. A guy was essaying women in that neighborhood. And in fact, they just had one a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, about 30 miles away. Or
Yeah.
no, I'm thinking of a different one. They were
No,
where he got on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the same geographic neighborhood. Actually, it was just in today's paper.
Yeah.
Okay. And, but Mom leaves her doors open at night. Really? Okay. What time's that? What time is the next X flight? To Mars? I'm getting on that one with a cheap ticket. That just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. I mean, I got to call. I got
that one with a cheap ticket. I'm sorry. That was such a Chris-ism.
I gotta get hold of Elon and say, hey, do you got any seats available? I'm available because I leave my doors open at night. He's going to say you should lock them. Okay. That's
Mars.
Right. And then you go, well, wait a minute. Where's my car? Again, I keep coming back to that car. Where's my car? Oh, well, we took it. Why? Because you leave your doors open at night. Or your mom you didn't tell them. So this is your punishment. We're taking your car. We all know that. I'm being sarcastic. But at the same time, I know that doesn't make sense, right?
No.
That never's made sense from day one. So, there's more here that we got to really take a hard look at it and say, well, that's not lining up. That's not lining up. And I still don't know where this card is and what the purpose of that was. What was the purpose of coming down the driveway with the memorial to place the card, knowing that the world was watching? And within a couple of days, that entire memorial was gone. The card, everything, gone. What was the psychological purpose of that? Or was it theater? And is this theater? I don't know. There's some really interesting correlations that I don't think we have answers for yet. And to be honest with you, I don't think the DNA is going to answer anything.
I'm not impressed by that either.
No. And, the reality is he already hedged his bet on that at the very outset. And I'm certain that DNA has come back because they've rushed it. They haven't released anything. Now, there may be anomalous strands that they're still working on. But, I'm going to go back to sounding like the grouchy old cop, saying the equivalent of get off my lawn. We used to solve murders without DNA and data tracking and all of the modern stuff. That's wonderful. I'm not sneering at it, but I am saying that it is possible to work these cases without excessively relying on the technology.
This is creative law enforcement. They need right now creative law enforcement because hypothetically, those body-worn cameras, which we would have died for body-worn cameras, okay, there is so much information and evidence in front of that camera that's coming at that camera in the form of statements, behavior, body movements, all kinds of stuff reenactments. If this was our case, I know that John and I would have both said, you know what? Show me what happened. What did you do and where did you go? And what did you see?
Yep.
Walk me through it. And action. And then it would have been, thank you so much. We'll be following up with you. By the way, we need your car. I need a tow truck. I need 1185 here, please. That's the 10 code or the 11 code for
the 11 CHP code for a tow truck.
Tow truck. And you impound it. And then you say, you know what? We'll be in touch. Appreciate you very much.
Well, actually, Chris, I think I'd have had them act it out, and then we'd have gone to the police station and interviewed them, the sheriff's station, in separate rooms.
Yeah, we would have locked them down. And it would have been tight that night, the very night. It would, I mean, you would not have been able to get through the drain at the bottom of the pool. Because there's, okay, all the hair's down there, and you're not getting through it. Okay. And so you lock them in, and then you kiss baby, shake hands, and you say, aloha, I got to get some sleep. You should get some sleep. I'll see you tomorrow. And then we're going to do it again. And that's when you say, thank you very much. As you can tell, we got a lot more work to do here. We're going to go here, and we're going to do A, B, C, and D. But we'll definitely keep going here, and we're going to find your mom. Not a problem. Right now, if I was the investigator, I would go back and say to them, the reporting parties, can you meet me at your mom's house? Because it's never too late. And walk me through exactly what you did again. And if they say, no, I want a lawyer, you say, that's fine. Appreciate that. And then you get creative. And let me tell you one story about a creative, a case I was aware of from LASD, Los Angeles Sheriffs, their homicide team. They had, remember the Mickey Thompson homicide, John? The racer, the guy that owned.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he was up in Riverside, right? Back in the day.
At the Riverside International Raceway.
Right. Okay, so long story short, the guy that they thought was involved, Los Angeles sheriff who had the caper because he was killed out in front of his house, thought, you know what, we need to get creative here. And so what they did is this guy was supposed to go on a flight. And so they got hold of the airlines and said, hey, one of our detectives is going to be at the lost baggage claim. Do you think somebody's bag could get delayed for like 15 or 20 minutes extra off of the conveyor belt when the flight lands? Sure. And then they put a detective at customer service. Hey, my bag, where's my bag? Oh, just go ahead and sit over there. I'm sure it's going to be coming here. Okay. And they got a detective undercover sitting there in the waiting room with him. And he says, you want to smoke? What happened to you? My doggone bag is lost. He goes, yeah, mine is too. Here you go. Yeah, hey, yeah. Hey, here's your bag. Thank you. Cigarette butt. DNA obtained. 10-8. All units cleared. It's a match. You're under arrest for homicide. That's creative police work 101. So if you're listening, whoever you are, okay, they're coming. Because guys like me, like John, like Gary, we're already thinking ahead of you. And I hope, as the Lord is my witness, that you realize that. And if I were you, the second note taker, writer, whatever you are, I would be the first one to move.
Yeah, snatch the opportunity, because whoever comes in first is the one that generally cushions their inevitable fall.
Yeah. And even though you think we don't know that you're watching this show, now he may think this. Sheriff, what do you think?
Know all the things we know, and we still need to know what you know, because there's something out there that we don't know.
Whatever he doesn't know, there are other people that actually do know. And they're in that building down there in Phoenix. And they're watching you as much as you're watching them. Like, remember Dr. Seuss, the bee watcher? Okay. The bee watcher is watching. And I think the first person, to the gate, like John said, wins. Really wins. Let me go through some of these things. Gary, do you have any thoughts? You want to tell everybody about your books while I'm setting this up here? Or
well, before we get into that, let me just say that
yeah.
I think it's not DNA or anything like that that's really going to blow this. I mean, maybe it will, but I don't think that's when it's going to blow this case open. What I think is going to blow this case open is a fracture in the group of people responsible. They'll either catch Porch Guy, and Porch Guy will lead to the center of the web, throw everybody under the bus, or they'll break apart the different personalities that are within the cabal, and one of them will turn on the others. It's sort of like what I think happened in Michael Vaughn case, right? Isn't that true?
Yeah.
He sort of turns on the others, right? Or unless I'm fantasizing that, I think that's right. I could be misremembering that, but of what's out there, I've read a lot of it. But I think that's how this is going to fall apart. A rupture, and I think there was a window of opportunity that got missed with those two notes, which was very strange. That's because everybody was thinking over there instead of thinking that this involves a little group of people that are having a kind of civil war, and I think that's how you do it. What do you think, John?
Oh, I agree. The entire purpose, and we've done this over and over again with multiple defendants talking to them, and it's just simply approaching them and saying somebody is going to come out of here with the best possible deal. And you could approach it, as you said earlier, approaching the letter writer by saying, look, we understand that you have serious misgivings about what happened. You're genuinely regretful. Sometimes you have to lay that out, that even if they aren't genuinely regretful, you're helping to create the rationalization that will allow them to come forward. And again, that's from hostage negotiations. But yeah, they missed a huge opportunity to exploit that second letter.
That's what I think. I mean, if it's real, yeah, I think so. Because think about the risk that was incurred in writing it. Somebody's trying to get millions of dollars, and then you write that from the same place the first one came, which is why they think they're both real, right? I mean, what? There was a risk incurred.
Undermine your Confederate.
Well, it suggests that you're angry at that person now, and you want out. Right, and you want, so I think there is, I can't get out of my mind the image of Judas throwing the coins. It's the person saying, what did I do that for?
Yeah,
right?
Like, what was I thinking?
Right, but I get
it. Well,
it.
then that will be the defense, or the defense will be, as I was led into temptation, although we know we know the other person could have found the temptation without any assistance. But if that helps you to get a confession, then you go along with that ruse.
She made me eat the fruit.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like. I wouldn't have eaten it. She tempted me.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was the serpent. But I think it's very, very interesting to go through the language of the note and how much you could sort of deduce. Be interesting to have Steve from Cold Case Foundation look at the book.
Yeah, he can't look at it till the 24th. I talked to him today. So we're going to have him on. He said he'll come on and probably in a week or so, but he's got some things. So we'll reassemble when he's available to get his take on it. But so those of you who don't know, he's got a company called Truth to Lies, and he's a forensic linguist. And the guy is brilliant. I mean, he's just absolutely amazing and fun. He's a lot of fun.
Good person too.
He's a good heart and smart guy. And by the way, Peter Hyatt used to be part of the Cold Case Foundation as well, but Peter passed away from cancer. But these guys are good. So Gary, here's a question for you. Do you think Cloud could be the busboy?
I don't know. I only know the features of busboy, but I don't know, who exactly might fit the bill. But I think we've built up a kind of a profile of the kind of character that is. I only know that Porch Guy was somebody who I think was in it for a buck. That's why I rule him out as having anything to do. Porch Guy is definitely not the writer of the second note because of the emotion that's necessary. Can you imagine that guy on the porch saying, "We're so sorry. We didn't know her conditions were as bad as, give me a break." And I certainly rule him out as the author of the first because the first was written by somebody, a little bit more intelligent with some technical skill and all. And the second person is an imbecile who, tries to disarm a camera with a plant. So I just don't think so. This is not, I know that there's a lot of this, like, you keep calling him stupid, but he got away with it. That's like a catchphrase, like a talking point that people use. But what they're missing is the point that that person's nothing but a marionette to an intelligent person. The intelligent person is the one behind that idiot. And that's why I think the best bet is to get Porch Guy and then get Porch Guy to throw everything under the bus, or the author of the second note to throw the first one under the bus. But it's the fragmentation that I think is going to break this case open. There's too many personalities involved, and it's like one of the highest profile crimes in the whole country right now. And believe me, if somebody has an opportunity to throw everyone else under the bus, they will.
If they haven't already.
And if they're listening,
pressure's building.
If they're listening, I would say, just remember, the same kind of person who could pull you into a situation where they could be that callous and that cruel towards one human being is going to do the same thing to you one day. As Machiavelli famously pointed out, always avoid people who betray others, even if they betray others for you. Because eventually they're going to betray you too.
Yes.
Hey, I wonder if there is an Italian connection here from the note writer. That would be interesting.
Italianisms in the first or the second
one. Irish Goodbye, 32. Nancy must not have been gagged while being taken out of her home. Blood on the porch was likely aspiration from mouth, which shows they weren't worried about her screaming. She was incapacitated, so no need. Yeah, that is a possibility. Will, yes, thank you. Again, I checked. I'll keep checking, and I even checked my spam and everything, my friend. I don't know what happened. So I apologize to you. Again, it was an accident by one of the mods, but trust me, I've not forgotten. What do we got here? Franny, I believe these ransom notes are just noise by two family members because, are tired of looking after her. Could be. Wonder if TNA are being set up by someone that has a grudge against them. They have been suspected and accused. It's going to be hard for them. Mrs. Agatha 99. Well, I don't know. They got the guy that tried to victimize them pretty quickly. Thanks for another great show. If DC was just taking advantage of the situation, why do you believe they didn't send his own Bitcoin information? If it's assumed they already had it. Great question. Yeah, I can't answer that one. So why does Savannah want anyone? Why doesn't Savannah want anyone to talk about this? Share 711 said. We keep going back to that. Why does she not? What does she know that we don't know? The church ladies can't talk, right?
Know all the things we know, and we still need to know what you know, because there's something out there that we don't know.
That's a great point, and I don't know.
That quote is so funny. Every time you hit that button, I still don't understand it. Can you play it one more time?
Wouldn't you be concerned if you did understand it, Gary? Wouldn't that be disturbing if you go, it makes perfect sense?
No, I honestly can't understand it. I just want to hear it one more time to see if I can decipher what it says.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Sheriff Nanos, yeah. What time is the game tomorrow?
Know all the things we know, and we still need to know what you know, because there's something out there that we don't know.
All the things we know. I mean, it's like, you know, Gary.
Well, it reminds me of everything I was in this. I just keep thinking of the honeymooners. It reminds me of Ralph used to say, I know that you know that I know that you know that I know.
Dr. Seuss. Did I ever tell you that Karen saw his collection? Have Karen tell you the story. She wrote a story on Dr. Seuss.
Theodore Geisel.
Yeah, he lived in La Jolla, and when she was a journalist with the La Jolla Light, and she covered higher science, and part of her beat was UCSD. And anyway, long story short, after he died, his widow opened up his writings, and she got to put the white gloves on and everything and read and learn about him. Did you know he wrote the majority of his books while he was sloshed and three sheets to the wind?
Oh, yes, definitely.
I didn't know that.
And he was a wonderful political cartoonist in the World War II period. Really very gifted. And his name is an anagram. I mean, Theodore Geisel is an anagram. Dr. Seuss an anagram for Theodore Geisel. Right. That's where he got that from. But he was quite a character, I have to tell you.
Did you meet him when he was alive? Did you know?
No, when I was a kid, I used to write to everybody, and I have letters from all kinds of people in my possession. But I didn't meet him. But I used to love getting, because those guys would write you back. Like if you wrote to like Charles Schultz or any of those cartoonists or people, you'd get a response. Fred Rogers.
You have some peanut stuff from Charles Schultz?
Yes, I have a drawing of Snoopy.
Get out.
That's cool.
I do.
I have all my books from when I was a kid. All my peanuts.
I loved them. I have a soft spot for.
Did you collect Hot Wheels too?
The little cars?
Yeah. Or a Matchbox. Are you a Matchbox guy or a Hot Wheels guy?
I was a Matchbox guy, but hold on. I got to see if I have something here.
John, what were you? Were you a Matchbox or a Hot Wheels guy?
I was a Matchbox guy.
There you go. Me too.
Oh, here you go. Look, you want to understand my entire personality.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
We're going to diagnose. Get on the couch.
Tell me about you're going to love this. You ready? It's going to crack you up. So when I was a kid, everybody was playing with Matchbox cars, right? I drove my mother crazy until she found me. The Matchbox hearse.
No.
It's the Matchbox hearse, which I have kept on my shelf my entire life because it is hysterically funny to me that there is a Matchbox hearse.
That is so cool.
That was my personality from the time I was a kid. Isn't that hilarious? There's a Matchbox hearse.
It was meant to be.
It's
Well,
so
looking
funny.
at the
You guys
looking
would
at
have a
the
Matchbox hearse and you know it.
Did you watch Harold and Maude when you were a kid?
Did I watch Harold and Maude? I was the pen pal to Vivian Pickles, Bud Cort, and several other members of the movie. So that's very funny to me that Bud Cort, I used to talk to Bud Cort on the phone before he passed. That was my favorite, one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. I didn't even know you even heard of it. That's wonderful. I love Ruth Gordon.
I used to go. I saw it. I used to go into Westwood and watch it when I was growing up.
Oh, it's great with that great Cat Stevens score.
Yes, Cat
A lot of
Stevens.
those songs that became staple, standards like if you want to sing out, sing out.
Yes.
Things like Trouble. It's from Motorbone Jack. But Harold Mudd is one of my favorites. That's a great movie, and the mother in that movie wrote to me for years. Vivian Pickles and Bud Cort lived in Manhattan near me. Used to be a customer at the bookstore I was at. I got to know him. It's a great movie. I have some interesting stories, but it is hilarious that I have that. That was me, the Matchbox hearse.
Did you have a GI? Did you have a GI Joe?
Oh, everybody had GI Joe, but I like Cobra better. I like the villains better.
Oh, you like the villains?
I used to like all the
villains. Like Cobra, huh?
Yeah, remember him?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I used to whack him.
Oh yeah, you played with GI Joes?
Oh,
of course.
Oh yeah. My dad was in the military. Come on, everybody had.
Yeah, of course. But I used to like the villain, and I always liked Dr. Octopus. I didn't like Spider-Man. I liked Dr. Doom. I liked, I always liked I thought they were more interesting, which tells you a great deal about my personality.
Interesting.
Well, because I always thought of them as more troubled. That there was something interesting about them. Why did the Joker snap? That kind of thing. I used to think about it, but it is so funny that I still have that little hearse.
That's cool.
Come on, you would have bought it if you saw it in the store.
Oh my God!
Did you have a Beanie Boy?
A Beanie what?
From Beanie and Cecil?
Yeah, from Beanie and Cecil, where you pull the string and you.
Yeah. That was the Beanie and Cecil hat that you would pull it and the thing would go. Yeah.
Yep.
That was
Beanie.
Spin the umbrella on his top.
Beanie and Cecil, great cartoon.
Yep.
Yeah. Beanie and Cecil.
Here's
Josh. They had a fun theme song, if I remember.
His dad got out today, by the way.
Oh, unbelievable. Oh yeah, that's true. I got a text him.
Yeah, and then man, I didn't know you were a matchbook guy. I didn't know that.
I mentioned all of you guys
Matchbox
in the comments where what is her name? The reporter that gave the full texts of the notes. What is her name? That excellent reporter,
Brianna.
On the show True Crime Junkie, I think it was. That
was great. She's awesome.
I put a comment underneath and I said, I'm Dr. Brucato. You may know me from the interview room and the lab, but yada yada, and said that I thought it was really great work. But it is. I mean, I think she does wonderful work. It sounded like she had a hard time with nanos.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that's what she says, right? That she would reach out to him and he'd be like, "Do you know what time it is?"
Gary, wait till Sunday.
Oh,
wait till we're back on Sunday night. I'm not going to say on the air right now, but while we got a moment, the 29th is episode number 4 for John Benet Ramsey. Hopefully, I'll give a barn burner. Burke may be with us on the 29th.
Always want to.
6 o'clock Eastern. Put it in your calendar. 6 o'clock Eastern. The 29th. John will be here, and the rest of the group that's been working on this thing. So make sure you guys don't miss that one. Trust me, we got some great stuff coming. Let me get back to these questions real fast. We got 15 of them. Has the FBI asked family not to speak? Why did they leave home? Everything sounds very poetic. Notes and family comments, scorched earth, ash of hope. I don't know if they can't tell them not to speak. But they may have said, hey, kind of stay on the down low. But I think at this point, the sheriff has come out and said, we're not talking to the family.
And that'd be a good question. Why?
Yeah. And I think he's starting to get the pressure because of good journalists like Brianna and like Karen and others that are putting the squeeze on him. And he's going to have to figure out, you got to answer the question, man. Wait till Sunday night, though. We got some stuff. Karen's got some stuff that is absolutely going to have you glued. She had me all day today going, you got to be kidding. When we thought it was bad, you haven't heard anything yet. Wait till, I'm serious. I'm not just saying this to everybody. Wait till Sunday. Karen has got some dirt that is going to make him look like Pigpen from one of the Peanuts cartoons. Okay. I wonder what DC's letter looks like, his word, because I am right. He did write one right. A side-by-side comparison would be nice. Thank you, Crazy Beach 508, which is I think that's Huntington Beach, HB. California Madison, 2013. Silence of the Lambs, second movie, reference of the crime. 1, she is full of knowledge and kindness. Talk to her and you'll see. 2, hello, Clarence.
I know Silence of the Lambs inside and out, and I don't know if she is full of knowledge and kindness. Talk to her and you'll see as being a reference to the Silence of the Lambs. I don't understand that. I mean, I know it literally by heart, and there is no line in the Silence of the Lambs like that. So I don't know. Maybe the person could explain what they mean. Certainly the hello, Clarice, I know very well, but the first line I don't. Did you know, by the way, that Anthony Hopkins based the voice of Hannibal Lecter on Hal from 2001: A Space Odyssey?
That's excellent.
Yes, he said that he wanted the psychopath to sound like a machine. So he spoke in that, hello, Dave. That kind of, that was
Douglas Trumbull was the Canadian actor who did Hal, if I'm correct.
That's right. Yeah,
and of course, Hal actually suffered from psychosis in 2001, which is the reason why he killed the astronauts.
Do you like that movie?
I think that 2001 was a masterpiece. I love that film.
Yeah, it's a wonderful. Yeah. I think Alex North, if I remember correctly, wrote an entire score for it. And then when he went in to go see the movie premiere, his entire score was chopped out and replaced with classical music.
Yeah.
And he hears the dum, 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 and he's like, what happened to my music?
Hello, Clarice.
Yeah. Hello.
Also sprach Zarathustra.
Hello, Clarice. How are you? Welcome back.
And then that's, open the pod bay doors, Hal. I'm sorry, Dave. I can't open the pod, I can't endanger the mission.
I love it. I don't know what my favorite line is from the Silence of the Lambs, but I like when Hannibal gets kind of snarky and he says, like, biting things. I think he's like, love the soup. Like there's these very, very funny lines, that it's great. I like when he says, people will say we're in love. That's a great line.
From Oklahoma.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's fun. And, but the best parts of the dialogue between Hannibal and Clarice were cut out of the movie, but they exist as deleted scenes. And there's this wonderful one where Hannibal is explaining the psychological testing that would have been done on somebody trying to get sex reassignment. And that led to them getting rejected, and that since there's only 3 centers that do it, you should go there and look for the rejected people, and you'll find Buffalo Bill. And he explains everything that would happen on the testing that would reveal that this guy, was really very disturbed. And that's the best part, and it's cut out, but you can find it on YouTube. It's a great scene, brilliant. John Douglas consulted on Silence of the Lambs, if I remember correctly, and of course, Chairman Emeritus of the Foundation. And that movie is very interesting because the villain, the Jane Gum, is really a conglomeration of different killers. He's a combination of Ed Gein with the women's suit, Gary Heidnik, who kept the women in the pit, and Ted Bundy with the cast and, can you help me? And then pushing the woman into the vehicle. And but I think when John sort of put that character together, he probably didn't think they were going to make one conglomerate killer, because you don't really get a Ted Bundy type who makes a woman's suit. It's a sort of a weird serial killer. But it's a great movie, and
I didn't know there were levels of weirdness for serial killers.
Well,
that guy right there. Don't hang out with that. Don't hang out with Ted. That guy's weird.
Well, let's face it. I think Ted Bundy was too organized for a Ed Gein type. I mean, they're both serial killers, but
hello, Carissa.
Hello. The best line in the movie, of course, is, don't worry, I don't have any plans to call on you. The world is more interesting with you in it. He says, and then he's like, bye for now. And he's like, I'm having an old friend for dinner. Remember? I'm having an old friend for dinner. And then you see that horrible, Mr. Dr. Chilton, who is a great, odious character, that you're just sort of glad to see him get eaten, But it's a great movie. I love it.
I didn't go to very many horror. Did you go to a lot of horror movies as a kid? I didn't go to. I went to one, and it was, what was the name of it? Scream, Scream, and Scream Again.
It was a long time ago, Chris.
A couple of weekends, and
I saw the original Night of the Living Dead.
I saw that one too.
Love that.
I did.
Yeah,
I love that.
With the girl down in the basement, that was enough for me. I was done.
Iris Shawn, her name was, that actress. Yeah. That was disturbing.
I can't even picture that. I don't like that one.
I thirst. Yeah. Well, it's I actually think that's quite a well done movie. Actually,
yes, we think.
I heard they're remaking A Nightmare on Elm Street with Jim Carrey.
Good grief!
Is that true?
I have no idea.
Unknown to this unit.
Can I ask you a question? Are those police codes different in every jurisdiction, or are they
usually
universal? Why? Why don't they make them universal?
Well, certain of them are, like 10-4, 10-8, 10-7, but because everybody wants to be their own little kingmaker. They want to come up with like in California, the CHP has 11 codes. And so we had to learn in Oceanside not merely the 10 codes, but 11 codes. So, it's just everybody does it differently. Like it was like 1016 was prisoner in custody in Oceanside, but for Riverside County it was 1015. It was just people will come up with their own sequencing, and probably it should be standardized, but they don't.
Yeah, just interesting. I find police code very interesting. But anyway,
10-9.
Yeah, 10-9.
That means repeat.
What year was it introduced?
The 10 code?
All those codes. The use over the intercom.
That's actually a really good question.
They had to be right after the 50s because they had the
they
call
did away
boxes.
with the 10 codes. There are no 10 codes. Everything is plain language here because they discovered during the 9/11 attack on the Pentagon that agencies that were on mutual frequencies were using different codes that didn't mean the same thing. So they did away with the codes.
Well, it says they were introduced between 1937 and 1940, first proposed in 1935. They were created by Charlie Hopper of the Illinois State Police to save time on crowded radio channels.
Well, that makes sense, actually.
Yeah.
Because instead of saying, station I'm in service, you just go station 10-8.
Yeah. It's just interesting that they predate World War II.
Yeah. Somebody wants to know code 7. LAPD uses these codes. A lot of pick them up. Code 1, code 2, code 3. Code 4, pretty much around some version of 4 means I'm okay.
Yeah.
But code 7, mealtime.
Out to lunch.
Yep.
Well, it says that in 1974, the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials International, or APCO, standardized it and then made it, so that's when everybody really started using it, but they were introduced in 1935. So it sounds like 1974 is the year that it would have become.
APCO is the dispatchers organization.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. That's really, really cool. I find that fascinating.
They still meet every year.
Really?
Yep.
Pretty neat. I didn't know that. That's fascinating.
Yep. Well, anyway. They have conferences every year. Yep. Let's see. I remember hearing early on the FBI is footage inside the house. A person saying, "You promised this would not happen. The FBI would not release it and holding it evidence." Interesting. That'd be interesting if that's the case. For sure. Thoughts on the leopard head with the sharp teeth? Anybody know about that? About this one?
What motif, or I don't know what that's in context with.
Apparently, there's a leopard head with sharp teeth. No.
I wish I'd spotted it.
Any takers?
No.
Buford?
Yeah, Buford. Well, I'll tell you one dang thing.
Yep. Anyone? What was Mr. Han from Spinelli? From was it? What was the name of the movie? I forget. Well, not Fast Times at Ridgemont High, was it?
Yeah, it was Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Ferris Bueller.
Yep.
Bueller.
Love that movie.
Bueller.
Makes you look like an ass is what he does. That movie's hysterical. I don't care.
I don't care who you are. Hey, bada, swing.
So funny. Oh my God. What about when he goes into the arcade and he thinks that he sees Ferris and it's a woman?
Oh yeah.
And he says, so
Fast Times at Ridgemont High was based on a story by a journalist who went into a high school in I want to say the northern part of San Diego City. And became, he immersed himself, pretended to be a student, and he wrote an article that subsequently was spec'd for a script. But yeah, that comes from San Diego.
John, the motif from Annie's card, her note at the cover.
You know what? I wasn't even paying attention to that. What?
Well, we'll have to look it up.
I will have to look that up. Yeah.
Yep. And then we can talk about that on the next one back.
Absolutely.
A card's a memorial head, leopard head. Yep. That card. Yep. We got it.
Okay. Well, that's something. I mean, tune in again, and we'll do some research on that.
Yeah, we got 3 hours into this, so I'm going to bounce here. I'd love to have Brianna on the show. Karen even talked about that. So
those two are like hatched from the same egg. They would love each other, don't you think?
Oh,
they have the same dogged,
Oh yeah.
You get everybody to talk anytime, anywhere, kind of thing. Yeah,
that's
and
right.
Not afraid to come out with the truth.
Yep.
Yeah, those two they'd love each other.
Well, you guys are amazing as always, and all their books are below. John's got a new one coming out, Bringing Out Your Dead. Gary's got The New Evil.
That's right.
Let me go get it.
You know what happened, Chris? He's got it. Yeah.
Truly, if you're a fan of this podcast and you really want to get plugged into a lot of the concepts that are being offered, you need to read this book. It's a primer. You just need to read it.
Well, wait until they see the book for the Cold Case Foundation. But no, Chris, wait till people get a load of the. We've
got this one from John, Beach Blanket Bedlam. We've got Service with a Sneer, and then we've got Gary, The New Evil.
You got the old edition that's big and chunky.
Get all of these books. These are important. And John's got a new one coming, and Gary's got 2 coming.
Well, I got to tell you,
Put your
Chris,
seatbelt on.
you saw a couple of the chapters all polished up that I sent you. Don't you think that Cold Case Foundation book is going to...
It's going to be big.
They're going to love it. Love it. Yeah, I just reviewed the fantastic chapter that I put together. I worked on editing with the medical examiner that works with the foundation, Todd Gray, and it mesmerized me. I loved it. I learned all kinds of fascinating little things that you could determine looking at a corpse, and all the ways people tried to trick the medical examiner, and I thought that was just really, really cool. But thank you. You know what happened to me today? I went to a Barnes and Noble, and I was looking for a copy of my own book to send to someone that wanted it signed. And there was a guy there reading a book about Kohlberger. And he said, "Boy, I don't think anybody could ever understand this guy, this Kohlberger guy." I said, "Well, that's funny because actually, if you want, I've done a lot to help people understand." So we had this long chat, and it turned out he's a guy. He knows Vernon Gayberth. He was a cop for a very long time who worked in. He was trained under Vernon, and then he invited me to go give a talk out on the island for about 300 cops that need training.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's just funny how that works. But then I told him about the new evil. He got all excited about it. It was very funny. Life is weird, how it works.
That's That's good.
Yeah. He's a nice guy. But involved, I think, in the Gilgo Beach case. Really, really interesting guy. But it's just funny how it's such a small world in true crime, and the violence. It is. All somehow come together one way or another. Incidentally, I think I am going to go to the next Crime Con
in Orlando.
Yeah, well, the reason is that when the Cold Case Foundation book comes out and we're wrapping it, I'd be very surprised because McFarlane Books that's putting it out is always there. I think maybe it'd be nice to go, maybe sign some. If you're there, we're the editors, we can sign it. But I think it would be fun to meet the fans. I mean, I think last time I signed a lot of autographs after I give a talk and I found that to be really very cool. People still remember when I met them.
Well, you need to get your room at the Overflow Hotel, Gary, because the original hotel is already completely booked.
What is it? What hotel?
Oh,
do we know? I don't know.
I mean, it's on the website.
Disney.
But no, I don't believe it's on the Disney property, but they're already booking at a secondary hotel that all the rooms are booked. So I think it'd be interesting if we would all go down there.
Yeah.
It'll become an excuse to get together, and I think, Lord knows, maybe we'll get a panel.
Don't hold your breath.
I don't know. I've never seen.
You'll get a panel. They'll be like, "Is that McDonough guy here?" Yeah. No.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Pariah. From the, isn't that special? Mm-hmm. I'll do the church lady up there. Isn't that special? Mm-hmm. Yep. And then if I have to break into somebody else.
Good afternoon, Clarissa. Welcome in. It's so great to see you tonight.
That's the way you sound so scared.
Everybody, thank you so much for being here. Aloha. We love you.
That's terrifying.
And
oh God, that's really freaking me out, Chris. You sound like the host of a classical music station.
Fava beans.
Hard working every day. I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts. Wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah. Make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away. You and me go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face and away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in a while.
Somehow I noticed you with your back against the wall, broken hearted from before. I see it in your eyes. Somehow I long for you at the start of something new. Was it just a light I knew from way before? Oh, why am I running from the light? Starting every fight. Oh, I wanna make it alright. Oh, can we make it through the night? Somehow you pulled me in without saying anything. Didn't know what it would bring standing next to you. Somehow I felt it then, like a door I thought I closed. All the love I had opposed was say to you. Oh, why am I running from the light? Oh, why am I starting every fight? Oh, I wanna make it alright. Oh, can we make it through the night? Oh, why am I turning from the light? Oh, why am I drawing every line? Oh, I wanna get us back in time. Oh, can we make it through the night? Why can't we make it through the night? It's always been you, Jesus. It's always been you, Emmanuel. Who gave thee this courage? What torch lights my feet? It's always been you, Jesus. It's always been you, Emmanuel. Who brings life to the morning? What flame lights my way home? It's always been you,
always been you, Jesus. It's always been you, Emmanuel. It's always been you, Jesus. It's always been you, Emmanuel. Ooh.